to the Mushroom Awards, the most prestigious, most important, and most psychological. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today, everyone who's been there at home, everyone who's sitting in the audience. So many people in the audience, let me tell you. There's a lot of people in the audience tonight. I guess we'll get started here pretty soon. I'd like to say how much that I appreciate the amount of effort people have gone to make my movies and the movies that we've worked on. And I think that that's really important, that people understand the word work and the amount of effort that it takes to really make a movie. And whenever anybody doesn't appreciate something, like in Love and Thunder, when the kid's head is floating like that, well, that's because that's what happens when you push people constantly to do more than just an effect that's necessary. Now, I did ask for that as an example, but the amount of spoiled brat behavior from the audience was absolutely insane. So, without further ado, I'm going to rank movies and give them awards based on what I think they did as the person who wrote them, or co-wrote them, or at least ideas were taken from me to create them. The first one here that I would like to bring up, I don't have an envelope, but I have a teleprompter. Not really, it's just a screen. The greatest beer run ever. Now, when I came up with this plot, I said, you know what would be a good idea? What if we had a movie about Vietnam, but about how much people love, like, beer and Vietnam? Good old-fashioned beer, manufactured the correct way, without tons of filth, without tons of disgusting ingredients. And I thought to myself, you know, what better period and what better place to bring it to have a description of it, to, you know why it's just good old steroids in a can rather than sulfur, or anything, than a movie about where some guy says, I'll go to Vietnam, all my friends are in Vietnam. Now, I would say that this is a good movie, but instead it has content that's just taken from me ranting, and this will be a theme that I'll bring up a lot during these award ceremonies, which is, I don't really appreciate it when people destroy things with my, the rants that I make. I appreciate it when they do something useful with them. Now, his father character in the film, which isn't spoiling anything, this is right at the beginning of the film for all the audience here. He's like the nastiest, meanest, most devil man that's ever existed. I mean, when you smash people in the back of the head, you expect to be mangled, and I mean mangled. That was my rant. So the real problem with the movie I have, if I was going to get a re-release, would just be, please understand that we don't promote cuckism in the film industry. So this gets the award for the dumbest plot to still entertain, because a man who has the balls to go to Vietnam would not put up with that shit. All right. Next we have a movie that should be near and dear to my heart, Dog. It's made by Channing Tatum. I like Channing Tatum. He seems like a man who's a bit of a hound dog like me, he's like, he agreed with me, once again taking things that I've said about, for example, Portland, where I went with my brother once, another rant that I did. And I said, no women, they're all ghosts there, they're all phantoms of the night. They're at nightclubs and they'll be like, oh, my chakras and all this silly bullshit. And none of them will ever have sex with me. They'll never have sex with my brother Reed. They'll never have sex with any handsome man, because he's either too threatening or to something else that doesn't line up with their ghostly, retarded ideals. And to be clear, Portland's not a city. Now imagine how vapid these people are. Yeah, I think you know. So the point here is, Dog, my problem with it is that I have a very big issue when things aren't represented well, when they're supposed to be realistic, and there's no reason not to be. So I always lean on the side, especially of saying that violence is never acceptable, especially if it's not realistic to any scenario. It's more thought out and careful than sex jokes or crude humor or anything else. At the beginning of the film, Channing Tatum's character, which I even had a rant about, I said, if you're making a military movie, what's military and not? So I don't know what he was quite doing here, which is why this is going to win the an award that's sort of negative right here, the very negative, even though he's made a positive film, which I'll get to. It's about the concept that he wants to get back into the military, so he's outside of a military base, and he's pulled out of the back of his truck that he's camping in. And, you know, you could safely say that they could kick you even further away from the base, be like, no, you can't hang out here, just because you're desperate. But you don't pull somebody out onto the ground. I don't know how that inhuman feat came across to any director or actor, including Channing, but are you serious? Because I said on a sleeping mattress, that's the type of thing people would do to be rude to you if they knew you in the military and you were on a base. This type of rampant violence is almost gang violence and would never be allowed in any organized group such as the military that trains all day. The man would be court-martialed. They would just shoot him in the fucking face. So dog wins most angering. That's right. Me personally. I don't care about the rest of the audience. It also angered me when he went, amusing me, when he went to Northern California and somehow pandered to the concept of being murdered by old people there because they think he's the fucking cartel. Most angering. Most angering. Then he doesn't respond even though he's standing there with an axe like he should kill them because he's a cuck. Once again, the same as Greatest Beer Run. Most angering. Right there. But the greatest beer run ever isn't angering after the father character. He continues to kind of punch the audience that ever saw military or ever, experienced it in the balls the entire movie, but it's okay because the dog doesn't die. Most angering. Next, we have a movie that was based on another one of my rants. You'll see a theme here where you either go a positive direction with my rants or you get resentful that I haven't made you a movie because I got bored recently, and you have two directions to go. So, Nope went the direction of doing something positive, pointing out that they have basically only 3 horses was the original concept, and every actor said this. And that's insane. And it goes along with favoritism, and this is the type of favoritism I'll tell you about. The type of favoritism that makes movies do this thing where they say, we won't ever mention the people that we're actually helping be bigger time than they should be. So people like from Detroit, back east, who are black, soft to the desert, die easily, hang out in the house all day, and have other people run the farm is what I said. I said that'd be the conclusion, up a valley. Everybody agreed with me, and they were going to make a movie, like I said, where I said, if those black people are still working there, running those horses, whatever, mixed race, nobody's really black in the United States anymore. Your mother's a whore. That's what I have to say to everybody. The whole plan was just aliens would scare them off. Fake flying saucer, that's like a balloon made out of like the correct shiny material and stuff in cloudy days and at certain points. And somehow this movie turned into the flying saucer murders everybody, and I assume it's because they were fighting over the release of this, and they wanted to say that they deserve to live there and all these things. So then I think somewhere along the lines it turned into a horror movie. So Nope is the longest delayed release to make changes, which is an award in and of itself. Congratulations, guys. You were so upset that people didn't, and it's not because of racism, didn't like you specifically picking people that shouldn't be in the West and didn't care about horses, that you made a movie that's been changed so much. I don't even know what it is. I read a synopsis, deep synopsis of it, a whole study, and it makes no sense. You guys, congratulations, good for you. On the state of most delayed to make releases sort of themes, delayed or needs to be worked on more, we have Morbius. Morbius, it it basically wins the award for most re-releases. I saw it released like a year before it was released. Then it got released again 6 months later. Then into next year it was released again, and then again. It was like 4 times it was released, twice for 2 years. So I didn't work extensively on Morbius, and I have to ask somebody off stage, what did we do in association with Morbius?
Well, with Morbius, it's more of a matter of it just being pointed out that it's like the only like college student project to make its way through all the way to this modern point from long ago. Like, it's been re-released since 2008. It's continuously been worked on.
Yeah, it's a movie that obviously shows the sign of archaic Batman Begins style digital with heavy, thick digital coded lighting and dark, dark shadows without the ability for better in 8-bit. Excuse me 1 minute. No, crap, sorry. Alright, so with that, we have Morbius. Why it's relevant? Really, it's just because of monk fruit. And the only thing I'd like to mention is why it wins most re-releases is just because it includes the current era of monk fruit sugar and the current era of everybody acting like, you don't want to touch bats. Bats are worshipped now because they fertilize the monk fruit flowers. And it's, the most re-releases because I don't even know. Like, he acts like as if he's all a part of that. Then he consumes bat testosterone from their testicles or something instead of monk fruit. So most re-releases, a project we're going to work on in the future because that's kind of gay, dude. So no thanks. I guess up next would be Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. A movie that I created segments of, so they had a difficult time piecing together. The issue with Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore is I made a joke where I said, because I don't like the wizarding world being too close to the regular world, where people get punished with, chains, and I think that that's kind of absurd. Well, the point here was supposed to be that the wizarding world, why nobody wants to commit crimes, was the joke I was saying, is that a giant rape tentacle extends from down a pit from like a creature that sucks all the jizz out of your dick till you die from starvation magically. And they turned it into violence like I knew they would, but that's not cool, bro. So, just saying, that's already makes you out of the running. Out of the running for best movie of the year, just so you're aware. You know what you did, kids. Let's see here. We developed a lot of ideas, but not really any direction. So this one's going to get best middle movie syndrome because they took things, and once again, like I always say, this is an industry that is an economy, so fuck you, pay me. Engrave it in gold on my penis underneath the shaft. Alright. Best fantasy, best movie middle movie syndrome. Solely for just stealing my cool crane bird that swells up like my chest, like how I always say. And then I'm, super tough, because I'm like one of those dinosaur birds from South America. That was my idea. I'm like a fantastic beast myself, and then I have wings and, fly off all silly. Yeah, so that was stolen from the beginning, including the magical deer and all that. I was going ecological and saying, what if we added in a little bit of a Pokemon feeling, like a little bit of a magical creatures that actually are cute instead of just hideous beasts. Because I know they're fantastic beasts, but how about some cute creatures, in my Crunchy Beasts film? The ending was modified of our film. We had an idea that there'd be briefcases, men from the 1920s with that hollow cancer, like they chew endless tobacco and smoke cigars and alcohol, and they're just a dark void into them, like type of men who stand around posing back then and just being shitty in movies as if they're secret agents, but it's actually about the fashion, which is why this is the fabulous world of Fantastic Beasts. And we're going on forward with that. Because the people in the film, I anticipated that they would replace them, but they have to match up to wanting to replace them, so they're just even bigger posers that wish they were in the 1920s. For all I know, they're from the 1920s. Anyways, they open up chests. Endless desserts or, bludgeon balls or various things pour out of them, spilling all over them, tentacles, as they are looking for the deer that's in the chest. That's the important MacGuffin for this movie. And it all got out of hand at the end when they started claiming, without the connection to my character, that whatever his name is, with the meat breath, that he killed the deer, and instead of killing it and eating it, trying to subvert the plot and scenes throughout the movie, just like how they tried to subvert the concept that they weren't attacking each other in the movie. The character, what's his name? The guy from Flash. He has cancer and is dying, and he's trying to convince... They made it all into violence, even though it was metaphysical. I'm not sure how. That they're like sort of battling. They don't have wands in their hands. They're like splitting open energy and pushing at each other with like angel wings and stuff. Because it's supposed to be like as if that's their emotions, because they're emotionally battling. While the wizards around them don't notice, and they're going head to head and like, exploding with light around them as the world twists. As it's psychological in their brains. Different type of magic is what I was going for. So now that that's been established by me, nobody out there can say that they're going to edit this, because then some person who actually works on the movie will restate what I said, and then it'll at least happen to where I'm not watching a crappy movie. I know this was a lot of conversation about Fantastic Beasts, but there was a lot to cover.
Yeah, I mean...
One last thing. They just edited the ending to where they said, oh man, it's dying again for no reason because a guy touches the deer. Then they shoot at him as he jumps off a building. That's it.
Well, I just have to explain the ending because I actually am writing the Harry Potter scripts here quite a bit, as well as actually writing them down myself this time. At the ending of the movie, it's completely skewed here because the man grabs the magical beast. You have to remember, this is entirely based around fantastical beasts. The entire premise of Harry Potter's series, that's where they get their magical energy primarily. There's other sources, there's many sources of that magic, etc. So I'm just pointing out that at the end, it is part of the plot. It hasn't been altered much. As soon as somebody else touches that magical beast, it begins to die and disintegrate because he's already eaten it and it's become his Patronus spirit animal.
Yes.
And that's a Native American belief, and so we agreed we were going to put that into the movie because it's another segment of magic that occurs over there in that area of the world, and it lets us kind of include more concepts worldwide.
I agree with that. I just wasn't getting to the point where I was explaining why it had been modified and how easy it is to modify a plot like this. Because it has to die to prove the point that it is his Patronus to be summoned again and again, like we'll prove in the next movie script,
and then
which
we've
already uploaded.
Because I want this concept, they're somewhere magical in the Bhutan mountains where they're away from what they're familiar with, they're all on edge, and all these things are happening. Then people reveal that they're completely against order and reasonability in the moment. They start flinging spells at him out of the crowd because some animal died. They don't know what's going on. He knows they're going to do that and easily escapes. Then the crowd, those who are responsible, are dealt with in various ways based on how they were acting. And then he's appointed defense minister.
Yeah.
Because he's terrible at speeches, terrible different things. But he knows that in the troubled times that are coming, that he, can deal with that part of it.
Which is directly into the plot of our next movie that we just created.
Yeah, we'll be getting into that more. I have some of it released on YouTube. More of the plot.
Well, thank you for explaining that. That greatly expedited that process, and now I can move on. Avatar 2. Now, I had a multi-year plan. I said out loud to my phone in my house, because everybody spies through my phone in my kitchen and other things, and just in general in their brain. Avatar 2, I said I had these different names. I said the way of water, the various things, and I said, yeah, as you can imagine, it has something to do with water. They're blue after all. They don't have an explanation for anything. I already saw early reviews. I think it's coming out actually tonight, ironically. So I'm just going to say that there's not going to be more avatars unless I'm paid, because my response to what they did in bringing the cigarette smoker woman back, which I said absolutely not, or I'm not making any more, is to bring her back as if because she failed to possess a cat body of a blue person, as if it's worshipful to do that, like it's making fun of tribal people that love demon possession. So that's not happening. Least watchable full budget movie. Congratulations, you get a special award. If I had one, I'd hold up a one that was made for me each time. That's pretty much sums up that one. Idris Elba, Beast. You know, it's that movie that I came up with where I said, we haven't had a movie like this in a while, where there's an average, supposedly suburbanite family, and they go somewhere on vacation and they don't realize how intense it is.
Yep. Hey, what's up?
They don't realize how intense it is. So then it creates this experience where you as the audience is supposed to say, oh man, this movie's really great. I hope it'll be like lining up with the way I'd react, like it'll have first person shots and stuff. And I said, this would be a cool movie because it hasn't happened in a while, you know, like a crocodile that's super big or something, you know, those type of films, but with a budget. I guess I would have to say that the most important part about the film is the fact that it was changed, once again, against my wishes. You know, you're not going to get free mentions in the future, like I said. You know who you are, other movies, I'm not mentioning you, that are unacceptable because they take things I said that were too negative, and then they only go the directions they want with them. That's especially egregious on top of stealing from me. So this movie just turns into everybody in Africa, kind of like the Vin Diesel movie where he filmed Triple X with a bunch of people. They're just all ruining his movie and insert all of themselves because it's supposedly made in Brazil and it's produced there, and then he's in 0% of the movie. Actually shocking that they could be such little fans, but it's true. Don't trust spoiled Brazilians. So don't trust spoiled Africans, because the movie turns into them being out of the movie halfway through even the trailer. And so I would say it's most bland, boring, cliche betrayal of a plot as well, to just have a bunch of Africans mindlessly hunted with AK-47s after it was supposed to be that it's mauling everybody comedically, just like everybody, like they can't stop it, into organized hunting of a lion is pathetic. It's like as if you can't handle the fact that lions are an apex predator. Grow up, but still best family film. Because you faggots will watch anything. Lyle Crocodile, best New York film. There wasn't really many New York films this year. Last year it was Clifford, or was that the year before? But we had this problem with each one, where there's still propaganda against pets being in New York, even though somebody in New York specifically said, why? Pets are allowed in New York, or the movies wouldn't be being made. So, best film in New York out of no films made in New York. But it's still propaganda and anti-super pets. So, 0 out of 10. Just saying. I have to take a break. One moment. I need some water. Thank you. Alrighty. Next up on the agenda is Sonic 2. Biggest Disappointing Alterations Award. When you want a film to be good and you can tell people have changed it, It's a classic age-old story. No matter what movie you're watching, something miserable happens that's annoying and slows down the plot, an enormous insert of something or something terrible. With this one, it's him hiring the wrong people. He hired known racists who are hostile in movie scenes openly to other races. And I don't even know. 45 minutes of the movie are them being racist in Hawaii while Sonic is out of the picture as they bicker with each other. They're terrible in general. They say racist things that shouldn't even be in a Sonic movie for children. And generally are just disappointing to watch and not entertaining. What's left of the Sonic movie has been turned into, this is why I'm saying biggest disappointing alterations award. Sorry, Jim Carrey. Try better next year. It's all been turned into NVIDIA PissX, where there's LiDAR being shot around in the environment in random directions rather than what I just came up with, which is basically a globe. You know how a plasma ball shoots light in every direction. It's very efficient. It stars out but with energy and light, and it allows you to use reference dots in a way from underneath of a CG environment game map or movie map to light everything through the, literally through it. And if you crossfire graphics cards, then you can either put it in the sky or in the ground and then do both at the same time and have them exchange LiDAR and get an even better effect, because I don't want to see lines of light moving through environments every direction, all one line splitting and being recombined like fibers of muscle being strained through a fucking meat grinder only to be refiltered together. I don't think so. Sonic 2, biggest disappointing alterations. The water looks terrible, and they put it at an enormous force to make it run like real water when it literally looks like whale semen. So 0 out of 10 on the CG. They modified the fuck out of that movie and made Knuckles a violent maniac for 3 seconds before saying that Sonic loved him. Gotta pick one. Secret Life of Super Pets. My brother Ammon worked on most of the movie. I just advised certain things like a comedic high-speed turtle and said it has to be wearing glasses that float in the air, making its eyes disgustingly big and comedic. That's my character. That's what I feel like in life. You always gotta put a character in a film that feels like you, Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? Anyways, best animated film. Don't censor my swearing. Go fuck yourself. If you haven't watched it already, I highly recommend it. Next up is Puss in Boots. It's the least finished because when it came out, maybe it's just the trailer, but it seems like the film isn't going to leave the area that I said it was in for 3 seconds. So I assume the movie isn't finished yet, and other people tried to pre-finish it and release it early. Because he's not supposed to be at a place for sick animals that are worn out forever. That was supposed to be a small piece of the plot that we came up with, aside from fighting a giant golem and other things. And we were making fun of a movie he was in where everybody was trying to kill him because he's so famous and important. That's negative. Don't make those type of movies. You'd have to try so hard to make there be a point other than just I'm important because I'm like Grant. How dare you? In the face. All right, least finished, Puss in Boots. Strange World. It was a movie about the type of wonderful and multicolored pink or purple creatures that would live in the erogenous zones of your penis glands. That's what it's about, in case you're wondering, and all the mucous membranes and stuff. And it's just exploring that world, like, in a microscopic way. It's pretty, it's not really disgusting, and all I said is, make the main character gay, and that's it. Like, it's just like, yo, he's gay. Then they'll flip out again, like America Chavez being bisexual. They'll just flip out, even though it's just like, yo, he's gay once. And then you just watch the tears flow as I lick them up from a dais as they pour into 2 bowls, and the scales of justice turn because they're such crybabies. Strange World. It's a good movie. You should watch it. Nothing offensive. Good for children. But I haven't seen it. Don't want to go to the movie theater. Don't want to be attacked. should really have more reasonable systems of ways of keeping fuckfaces away from me or pretending to work at those theaters.
Yeah.
I don't like it when jihadists tell me to go to the back of the theater for a new movie that's being played in the big room, and that simultaneously in the back room as he tells me I can't get a ticket for the big room because I realized it was the small room. That's racist. And I'll beat him to death. Alright. Strange World, haven't watched it. Get fucked. Sorry, your effort means nothing to me. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent wins Best Mockumentary for obvious reasons. If you can't tell that it's a mockumentary, you're already lost in a world of spy buddies bullshit. You think that the FBI isn't just a family of people that used to be the Untouchables. You don't know the history you can even look up on Wikipedia. You think that the CIA is an organization rather than something introduced in movies of the 70s. You think CBD and THC, because I've realized this, are just connected to that and just two chemicals not associated with marijuana or anything, from my perspective, that they just said were the two, one's hero, one's villain, they're supposedly maybe extractives or things that are extrapolated, and they just beat them to death like anybody does as things get popular. That's why I always promote, like I say, because this mockumentary is about mocking other people's insanity that isn't Nicolas Cage's, and paranoia, that you not act like everybody's going to kill you just because they're inviting you to a party. You take things at face value to some extent, because you're not me, you're not special, you're a shitty fucking actor, and people love that. They love shitty actors. You should really watch out if you're an actor that only plays in important films about spiritualism and fantasy gods and stuff, because then people might actually give a fuck. Best mockumentary, if you can't see it, you're retarded. They literally take cactus, concentrate LSD. I hope they did, that's what I told them to do. And act like people are scary to them because they're mentally ill. It's what the whole movie's about. And about how that makes boring movies. That's not suspense. Bullet Train, a movie that I really wanted to play in myself. Fuck you, Brad Pitt. I hate you so much, you little bastard. Oh, I won't play in any of these action films till one comes along that's made by me, where I want to be in it. Bright hyper colors, exciting action, fast-paced violence, absurd plot lines, little C4 with a little detonator that I knew some chick would self-insert because she's obsessed with that stupid idea and killing her dad because she has daddy issues because he fucked her too hard even though she broke his dick. Anyways, there's some fat hoe being in there instead of the little Asian girl I asked for. Best action film, she shot a man in the chest, edited him bleeding, then he's back alive because he was wearing a vest. Bitch, what the fuck were you thinking? The end. You're absolutely a fart sniffer. Best action film, because I was going to do all the moves with the swords, I was going to do sword fighting in it, I was going to do all this shit. Brad Pitt did all of it, you fucking bitch. But your stuntman is super, super fucking sexy, and I need to suck his dick, swallow his cum, have his babies through DNA modification of my organs, then make them replace you, Brad Pitt. Because that's how sexy he is. So sexiest stuntman out of 10 too, Bullet Train. Violent Night. Best holiday film. Only holiday film that I made, or my brother made this year. It's just about using a giant rubber sledgehammer because I saw that guy from Stranger Things getting in really good shape. So you just have to make it look realistic and slam it into people, and everybody says it's action-packed when they get yanked back with dust on them with wires as they go. Best holiday film? Haven't watched it. Never gonna fucking watch it because I suspect people want to be violent just because I'm watching a violent movie for once and it's winter and they associate both of those with getting to be violent. 0 out of 10 on everybody's violence scale needs to be punished. Speaking of which, next movie, The Gray Man. Speaking metaphysically here because they're actually insane and that if anybody brings it up to them, they'll go, ooh, even if you bring it up to them clever. I talked about what I appear to have previous life experiences of some engagement in violence, in my opinion, after taking cactuses. They try to recreate the scenarios in which I engaged in violence with cliches like the CIA still existing in movie form, even though that's boring, come up with a different organization at this point. Anything. You call them the faction of elitist cunts for all I care. FAC. Or EC. I guess that'd be the faction of amazing cunts. I don't know. Whatever the fuck. The point is here. To simplify everything down, the movie when I watched it wasn't finished yet on top of that. So I'll give them some advice. If you're gonna make a movie like that, don't have it be cliche organization names, and have it be extra loose, like I said, and I always say. You're one organization or another, you're saving the world because they're just crazy lunatics. No down the road, no they are an organization that spies vaguely. No, they do something bad, they're the bad guys. They do bad things, you know? All the no-nos. Smuggle, human traffic, enslave people, you know, whatever the fuck. Shoot people for diamonds in the street. Silly plots. Gray Man, currently 0 out of 10. Don't like it. 3,000 Years of Longing. Best historical romance porn. It was supposed to be porn with Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. I said anybody could really do it. She could fuck any guy she wanted, but that's what it turned into. And for some reason, people just play both sides, so they say one way, we're racist, the other way, we're racist the other way. Magic, right? So there's a bunch of terrible, once again, which I don't approve of, violence instead of sexuality in the film from other people all over in a trailer I watched, making me not even want to watch the finished product. Sorry guys, your porn didn't come out. They replaced it with historical violence, it appears, in mass sections that have nothing to do with what they're even talking about, as if people just think they get to. That's what happens when you make porn and there's fucking jihadists out there. Alright. Bros the movie. This movie's just gay as fuck. It wins the gay as fuck award, if I was holding it right here, for being gay as fuck. The movie is supposed to, in case you're wondering, tell you that people that pretend they're gay, not gay for a while, even go into a place on vacation and suddenly start acting gay or in the park, that's their fetish. They're annoying, and this was another conversation we had, and Ammon actually came up with this movie. If you'd like to speak about it a little bit, you could come on, because I don't really want to speak for what your intention was and what exactly you were trying to achieve. But it wins the gay as fuck award.
Sure. There was also a brief mention of Super Pets, and he, as he was saying, he just mentioned the parts he did. I'll get into that, I guess. Maybe I could do it now, I could do it later, I don't know. Let's not talk about Bros the movie since we're on that first. It's... You're kind of standing in the light.
Oh, sorry.
Whatever. I mean, you can... Whatever. Alright, anyway. So, gay as fuck because it was designed from the ground up. I noticed there's this problem in society that I've had to deal with. Friends and family always going over to San Francisco. It's supposedly having this whole gay community that everybody says is humongous, and it shrinks and grows as people fly in from around the world. We all know that, right? So, everybody's acting like they're supporting two sides of a gay agenda and trying to make a Tweedledee and Tweedledum out of just some place where people were really gay. So this movie is saying, who's actually, the gay ad council there? I just thought this up because I was like, I've heard some stories back in the day in the 90s about that. And that's really when I would say this movie, if I gave a crap, would be set in time and space. Would be in the 90s sort of more, but who cared? So it's just sort of modern, as if nothing really moves on since the 90s. And it'll just keep happening, the same events where everybody's trying to prove they're extra gay because they have some sort of midlife crisis, every single person in different directions. And somehow there's this stigma that if it's gay, then there's more weight and it's more important. So the movie is literally the first of a standard of movie that I know everybody wants to make. And it's like sections of movies turn into that movie. Like, I'm looking at a bunch of romantic comedies in the early 2000s where the gay guy is the friend of the main character woman. So then they have suddenly gay as hell, gay as fuck conversations. and the colors change in the movie, and everything suddenly becomes that way. So I was saying, step out of the closet, guys, and if you want to make gay as fuck movies, do it yourself. Here's an example movie, and it has like the most outrageous thing I could come up with, where they're trying to prove they're even gayer than everyone in the park. They did it spectacularly, the actors, like it was just what I wanted. I hope it brings clarity to an issue that, how many people have actually been to San Francisco personally over the years? You know, like, what state is it in? This makes people think about that, and the state of gayness in general in connection to that.
Well, thank you for speaking on that, because that movie just annoys me. Thank you for that. Because I didn't really want to talk about any of that. So, all right, let's see here. What do we have next up on the Mushroom Award agenda? The Lost City of D. Best new franchise. Come on, you gotta give it to me. Best new franchise. And best adventure movie. 2 categories, 1 movie. That's pretty impressive. Channing Tatum went from pissing me off to being in something that surely I made as well, but actually did it well and did it correctly. An amazing movie, a great romance movie, entertaining to, I would say, all audiences, and has the right amount of chick flickiness to where your girlfriend can watch it, but you can also watch it and not want to, conk your donk till you blonk. Great movie. Best new franchise, best adventure movie. 10 out of 10. It's a great film. Can't wait for the sequel that I also made.
And the one after that.
And the one after that, and the one after that, and probably the one after that. You know that woman who made all those books, A to Z? You're screwed, Channing. All right. Ticket to Paradise. This is a movie almost entirely developed once again by Ammon, not by me. It wins Best Rom-Com. It's the best romantic comedy this year. It feels like it could be released in the past and people wouldn't bat an eye, and yet it pushes so much harder the envelope of how negative people can be in a way that's more positive and kind of telling you that you shouldn't be that way. It also does things that are very important that I like a lot, which is why I would give it like award for pioneering a new category as well. Make that up right now. Best pioneering film. Because what it does is it says, unlike another movie, there's a scene in it where she says, "You're not here to try to stop me from doing what I want," basically. And he says, "Oh, of course not." Like how a real family works, because everybody knows everybody's opinions by this point. And that's realism. Realism that doesn't get in the way of the movie's plot or the comedy, and makes you feel like as if your heart's in the right place while watching it, instead of being up in your throat because, supposedly she doesn't know that they're nefarious or something like that type of silly thing.
Yeah.
What are your comments?
All right, so I just had to point out here, I kind of developed a lot of romantic comedy scripts recently. We've had different ones. We'll be getting to more of them in a second. All I'm pointing out here is, with Ticket to Paradise, I'm saying it's the best romantic comedy because it impacts in ways in people's minds that is personal to families, and also families that operate slightly different across the world, but still are just more families, right? So it's just so intricately crafted, and I really wanted to get the reaction of how the actresses perform it, and actors too, so that when it comes to the sequel to Tickets to Paradise, I could really dial in the personal relationships of what's going on in all directions, so that everyone's involved from the first movie and it feels like a direct continuation in every way. That's about it for that, I suppose.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your personal thoughts. I appreciate them, and they're very helpful.
Well, I mean, when it comes to this section, I might as well step in here.
Yeah.
Like, When it comes to Marry Me, for example, which is next up on our agenda, it says most positive impact. And this movie, I was kind of going for a concept of, like the most, Grant did step in, like he came up with, I think, the math concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we were just trying to find what was the most generally cliche possible life that somebody could have in juxtaposition that no one's thought of yet. That's how I came into the movie concept. And so automatically the impact is huge. Like, it's incredible. People, it's like it's sunk through time and space and everybody's already has it in their brains. Like, it's impacted all of society immediately. Because when I really thought about it, my first concept was marriage has become so messy. There's so many movies that turn it into this huge projected issue of, like, ouchie. Just this issue of, like, intense debate, like, as though in each movie there's this whole series of events that you have to jump through because it's a marriage movie.
Exactly.
So I was saying, just to change everybody's society's viewpoint on what marriage can even be, you have to have the movie completely subvert that. So I said, what if we're cliched another category, like the whole father can't make it to the sporting event type silliness. So I married those two, so that people's minds could take the positives from different types of movies and move forward into the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, marry me, Emma Watson. Call me.
Yeah, why not? You know, it's up in the air what that means. You can make it a contracted date, you know?
All right, next up on the Mushroom Awards, we have The Eternal Daughter. I became aware to me at some point that people were obviously consuming post-mortem snacks from their parents' titty milk from beyond the grave. And I said to myself, oh man, little sugar milk pills from the sugar of their breast milk, from their improperly eaten already like glacious sugars. How long would you keep somebody's bacteria alive from them, preserved in that, in your brain, in your heart, taking energy to generate them as a person? Well, it's just you. And it's a sad existence, and it ages you, and it clogs your ability to have sex and to move on. That's what this film is about. And because I am revealing the plot, but anybody who's watched it should probably already watch it, best mystery film. Because you don't know what's happening until the end. Some people still don't know what's happening. It's sort of subtle. It's a movie for intellectuals. And I know how Tilda Swinton likes to make those type of movies, so I gave her one. My brother developed most of the script. I just said she goes to a house where it's spooky, it's already abandoned, they may have lived there in the past, and there's, fog rolling in everywhere. And creepy woman in a window, I said that.
Yeah.
Always there. Always watching.
Yeah,
always in the shadows, at the corner of your eye.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be a sort of movie that drags so much that from my point of view, I said, okay, at the point where I'm bored desperately, that's the point where everybody else has had enough building suspense. So that what would be for me an hour-long movie becomes a full 2-hour-long movie for everyone else.
I could have been 20 minutes shorter.
Yeah. I'm insane and want everything at a fast pace. And so I just said, well, double the slowness of what I want is what we're going for here.
Yeah, and then that's seen through Super Pets, the speed you want. So I made fun of it, and our next Super Pets is worse because you can see all of it because it's unfolding, everything, like I said when I came up with it. It's just the lines. They're not drawing new ones. It's why it's so efficient. They're just bending and becoming longer lines at different angles for the perspective of like even a spheroidness. Like the spheroiding isn't real. It's just the lines changing the way they are set. And the CG as the dog punches or something or builds up force.
Yeah.
All of it's just pulling on through and none of it's actually, going anywhere. Anything that's
Yeah.
moving is moving against other things in that special way that they have for storybooks and stuff in movies.
Yeah, definitely. That's something you developed that you're really proud of. I know. We can talk more about that later, of course.
Of course. Everything, everywhere, all at once. This movie doesn't seem finished to me, and I have no idea how time-space works. I feel like they finish it in their brains first. There was this priority that I said with it, where I made the multiverse of madness as sort of this concept that you're tearing everything apart with your unilateral decisions in every direction other than straight forward. Like, you want to regress, you want to go sideways, but never take a path into the future, right? This is the theme of the Spider-Man film, so in part, they did take things from us, which I will mention in the future. Things that I would have wanted for better films without as much immorality, then, let me say. So, everything, everywhere, all at once. The problem is, I said it should take place at various boring locations because people be used to that in duller tones and slightly more somber blues or grays or browns like people are used to from crappy films with shadows. But what I didn't want is the way they arranged it and made it. The woman who worked on it, old Miss Asian, who's been in movies forever, I may have been harsh or rude, as she seems to somehow have been more effective at executing our plots than a bunch of other people, including Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, even though it was also ideas that could have been employed a little better. My problem with the film, I guess I have to say, is that there's not enough detail. I said that people's lives are like rocks next to a cliff, and that they're wearing away little by little as they refuse to move, and they're like sedentary while pretending the world is moving around them and they're moving with it while they're not, and they'll be worn away by the ocean after they fall from a cliff. It was represented by rocks with googly eyes, but it wasn't funny enough. The whole point is the separation is supposed to be, like any divine comedy, that the comedy is supposed to hurt like you're laughing as it's turning sour in your mouth because of the flames of ashes from your own pernition. And it wasn't that way enough. It was too restrained, even within itself. And it was too poopy. The dildo comments and stuff wasn't enough rainbowed like I wanted because it's supposed to appeal to absurd gay people. It's like the multiverse of you're a faggot. And I mean a faggot. There's gay people, then there's the people who like this movie. I'm looking at you, Vinny. Overall, 0 out of 10 for using too much of the office space, not enough of the dry cleaners at the other locations. It was supposed to be split evenly between them, and it wasn't. Other than that, it could have been a great film, but it was just slightly too grungy for me. Everybody else said it was amazing, so maybe that's the way it was supposed to happen, and I have no choice with this one. But Everything Everywhere All at Once only wins Best Film for the gays, because Bros sure didn't. It was like a moral lesson in why certain gay people are irritating.
Yeah.
Sorry if that was long. What do we have up next on the Mushroom Awards of 2022? Alright. We have a movie that's a personal favorite of mine. I love it because it's based off of rumors of a man we all know. We've all listened to at least some of his songs, the ones we like at least. Weird Al Yankovic. This film is a unique specimen. When we made it, it was entirely based off of rumors, including him being more fabulous, and supposedly, like, you know, when people are thinking of him being more fabulous, like dating Madonna, that they're thinking that he must be muscular as beyond belief and being like a romance cover man just because they're saying these things because they were fans of him when they were kids. So we took that and we said, let's not be mean. Let's be weird. Let's be so weird that people can't take it seriously and they wish they could, but they can't. You can't, oh no. When he guns down Pablo Escobar after Pablo Escobar says that he's slightly offended emotionally and that he can leave, and then it's a psych like they're teenagers. You don't think it's not a comedy film. And in fact, it is the best comedy film of this year. Thank you, I know, right? Yes.
Yeah, right.
Next up, we have a movie that I'm not really comfortable with talking about, so whatever's going to be said will be said exclusively by Ammon, because I'm disgusted with the amount of things they took from once again, like some other movies I'm not going to mention, from a period of me talking for months about my own personal life, including what would be an ideal vacation or party for me, and brought it to the desert.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing I have to say about the movie, because I wasn't really planning on talking about it, but it's on the list and I can say something about it, is this movie, Me Time. I guess I'm mentioning it directly. I haven't actually written down what it wins for, like, basically I'll describe out what it did wrong and how it needs to be fixed. I already have a video on that, I guess. The ending, it's just the feeling of the movie. Like, it continues to draw you into a world where action, comedy, fun is happening away from the suburbanite, city world. As it continues to draw you that direction, it makes you think maybe you'll spend time here in this world. But it's also a comedy movie, so anything can happen in a comedy movie. Anything can be subverted, right? So suddenly it drags at the end. And there's other movies that do this that I'm not even going to mention, that have come out this year or a little bit in the last year, because Corona delayed everything. So it just needs to be souped up in every way, because suddenly new characters are introduced, and usually when characters are introduced that are negative to a movie, it'll drag suddenly because they don't know how to make it comedic. And that's really the problem here, is it just turned into cliche conversations. And basically, in the end, everything has to be cut at the end of the movie. It doesn't win any awards. It wins most reluctantly mentioned movie award. That's what it wins. Because somehow it has potential all the way through, like a few other movies did, I'm not going to mention. But it's so close to delivering with a few changes at the ending, it can be a fabulous movie. So I guess it gets to be mentioned. I don't know. That's about it.
Chen Xing and the Ten Rings wins most stolen ideas by Chinese communists. I had an enormous speech that you can find in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. It's a speech that's literally, which is why I have to say that even the Asian woman who made my other film, whatever it's called, Everything Everywhere All at Once, is loony in a certain way, like George Clooney, a little bit, because she did an entire speech that I said was about combining all the bland, sort of vague, messages of everything. There's an ancient evil, we sealed it away. It's literally word for word everything I said, and it goes on too long. And I use the example, they just took this and ran with it, of, like I said, an enormous, wood carved, because I have this problem at 24 frames, where if there's not, other 24 frames cameras, at least two other ones, and, two for the interleaving, you don't have steady frames. So you have to move so slow to not have any film shuddering for 24 frames a second, that it's like she just thought it would be a great idea, and I guess everybody else liked it, but I sure didn't. Where if you pay attention to her speech, it's just every cliche from every other movie blended together, like the evil was sealed away, it does this, it does that, it's been thousands of years, but now darkness, all the different things. Literally the most cliche of all of them. It's like if you opened up a book on how to write an ancient legend script, it would read what she said, word for word. I'm that good. It's like a thesaurus sentence of a reference of what it means to make a speech like that. So she goes along this infinite piece of wood with things carved in it while talking forever and ever. That's a stolen idea right there. I guess I would say the most offended I've ever been by a movie is between Bullet Train and this one. Because Bullet Train, I said it should be made, even though I'd prefer if it was somebody new in the role. I wish I could, I'll make a different movie about bullet trains in the future, and I want to be fucking the main character. So, the problem here is, I wanted to destroy all of San Francisco streets. I said, as a base concept, when Shang-Chi, this is what they stole, the most major fight scene. In a bus, with all the sharp edges, smoothed off and everything on pistons, where I'm fake crushing every car on every side, crushing each and every car that I hate parked along there. It's so gay, it's so stupid, it's so frustrating. And do all these bar grabs and kicks and stuff. And he just went ahead and he just stole it straight from me. So if he wonders why he's getting shit from me, it's because he is a shit. The end. I don't care. I don't care about if your boba doesn't have any white sugar in it and it's just tapioca and Pili and CO. You're a cocksucker. You're a cocksucker, Simu Liu. You're dishonest and it shows.
Well, that's why he's going into the older movies with the previous actors from like the 80s and 90s that were the action stars. That's the part of Marvel he's being designated to.
Because he's a cocksucker. You win the Cocksucker Actor Award.
But it also leads into the next one.
That also leads into the next one, which is because he's going to be in a Spider-Man film as Asian Spider-Man with his machine gun, like I saw in an episode that was shown to me off of the internet. He's in Spider-Man, so next is Spider-Man No Way Home. Most angering edit award. When something's been edited in a film, it's obvious, it's angering, it's asinine, it makes you want to scream. This is that moment where not one person would say it's not edited. In the theater release of the Spider-Man film, Aunt May dies. Nobody wants it. He's supposed to be the cartoon Spider-Man that everybody says nothing ever truly bad happens, and they get injured but they don't die. So, must be his personal modifications and certain people on the set, because I saw infinite videos about how he needed to recreate exactly what Tobey Maguire did, including deaths. And it seemed like he wanted to end his franchise, in case you're wondering. Because he ends it in the same room after acting like Zendaya and him don't know each other, as if he's undoing everything and saying, how dare you like me for being cute Spider-Man? I'm angry, woman-hating gay Spider-Man or something. Because Big Booby Mama gets hit by a glider. This is the edit. And when she gets hit by the glider, it's not enough to kill her. And it doesn't make sense because there's pillars in the way how he would even move the way he does. So guess what happens on the home release? Fuck you, Tom Holland, and fuck you, friends of Tom Holland. None of you should work on Spider-Man anymore, anybody who edited this for him. Green Goblin smashes through entire pillars in a glass-fronted building that would take down the whole building and kill everybody and rain glass on them. But he just goes through the wall with an enormous explosion of smoke, even though there used to not even fucking be a wall the same way there. As if they doubled down on it, always a bad idea, this is what you learn from Vegas, and made it even stupider. So there's an enormous explosion of smoke because it didn't even look right in CG, the angle he was headed at, and how he hit her. And then they speed up the footage of Glenn Gorblin, played by William Dafoe, not his fault, that's CG, hits her, and it just hits her faster while it does the same exact thing, then she's mortally wounded for real now, because it exploded through a wall before it hit her at the same speed but sped up. Literally fast forwarding, just so everybody's aware. You can watch the theater release, people have recorded it, there's some footage out there, versus the home release. These edits are unacceptable. You can't do that type of thing. You can't make it look better. You can't hide your sins. Most angering edit award. Fuck you, Tom Holland. Fuck you, digital editors. Fuck half the people standing around him. And fuck you, Zendaya, for supporting him in his cruelty. Yeah. Cruelty. When he's cute Spider-Man. He's on day roost with little kids blocks and wow! And like little bits of confetti bursting out and air horns going bee 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 bee.
Yeah.
No. We don't need a third Spider-Man after Tobey Maguire to also lose somebody cliché-ly for no reason. 0 out of 10. Alright, what do we have next up on the awards list? Oh, looks like we've reached it. Best picture, best overall. I couldn't be more pleased. You know how this had this theme of stealing conversations that I had and only focusing on the negative and trying to fix other things that shouldn't be in them, and it makes an obvious hodgepodge of a movie together? This movie does the opposite. It takes the things I've said, it takes the things that Ammon said, and it addresses society itself. It says, I'm coming at you, I care, I'm going to cover each part of your brain with a superhero, each aspect of life, because I'm life, baby, of my personality and my brother's, basically, and turns them into a wide variety of superheroes that are better than all of the superheroes that have come before them. They have outfits that match their personality and fit their form like I asked for, in various colors that are more somber while still being earthen and feeling natural. They have amazing superpowers that are, in my opinion, because I talked about it and this is where it came from, the basis of what Superman, the Flash, any of these characters should really be like. I was dissatisfied with the Flash. I said, when he runs around the world, why does it look so bad? I described this, you need to see the earth like fish shying away while it's still a vast climate of 3D environment, as like the Flash, you know, I was talking about him racing Superman in a little cartoon. It looks terrible whenever they go over a horizon. And it comes around, you know, as it is like the ground seems to pull and rotate like it would when you're running that fast. You can feel it moving under you. That's what the audience needs to see. As she runs up past a lighthouse and up onto land, and the light is not just lazily placed, it's actually placed in the 3D environment, so you see it off in the distance, and it's not just perspective based. Excuse me a moment.
Thirsty work.
All the characters, including the main character who played Superman, which I asked for, I said, why are Supermans always so bulky? Why don't they have the correct amount of energy and muscle mass to be svelte, so when they point their toes and drop like Superman does on wires, he can come down and just drop. He doesn't do anything like even Henry Cavill does. And this man delivers, although he prevented my brother Ammon from narrating a sex story that was obviously just basically him in Irish form, where he, you know, is, you know, kinkily because women need to get off, raping a woman, but not really in that cliche way where he's domineering. Don't suppress other people's acting. You win most control freak actor award. That's why you were chosen for the role. You're the villain.
But vaguely.
Vaguely. So my point is here. It almost won Best CG, but certain aspects of CG, including certain cities, like I knew they would, are such set pieces that it's like when you have it in a video game, like, you know, Civilization, or some sort of example piece where it's just like a wall and like a city in it. It's not good, and it's vague from above. And I knew they were going to do that because I said it wasn't necessary. And that doesn't detract from the best movie of the year, but it is disappointing. So best picture, best overall means that overall its CG was better than everything else that year. It had incredible 3D. So deep, so impressive. I don't even know what technology they're using and which ones we talked about and what they're employing, but it's obviously using gold because it has certain rainbowy gold aspects that aren't like orange acid or other things. Probably multiple camera lenses all recording videos at the same time. It's impressive.
Yeah, I gotta point out here, I don't think we have on the list that movie that you came up with where there's a little girl doll doing gymnastics and killing everyone.
Oh, yes, I forgot that movie. Movie Megan with a 3.
Yeah.
It was a movie where he were like spinning around in front of my brother. And like I said, they're just metaphysically taking this shit. You guys are ghosts, baby. And I was just like, you know, I pretended like I would do a flip because that would hurt. And then like touch up against the wall and do all this shit. And I said it'd be awesome to have, like, instead of Chunky, it's just, she just kills fucking everybody for no reason except a little girl. So the movie actually happened, and it's absurd because it's just absurd. She's just a killer robot. But there you go. All she does is do, like, gymnastics, is the joke, and then kill people, like, you know, like cheerleader stuff, basically.
So yeah, best horror comedy.
Best horror comedy. That's what that one wins. For being ridiculous. I I can't say enough good things as I go back to Eternals here for a moment before I move on to the next thing in the list. About Eternals. It was moral. It was spiritual without being religious. It's why we go to movie theaters. Eternals is why fans watch movies. They want to be affected. They want to feel like as if they've been, opened up on an operating table and the evil's been scraped out with emotional pain. The movie is everything it needs to be. It experiences why I and other people feel that nobody should have freedom of choice, why they don't believe that freedom of choice exists and that any divine beings would never allow such a thing. It covers everything. It's based philosophy of the world through the eras. All in a superhero movie with a plot that actually introduces those giant beings that everybody said were in comic books in the 70s in a way where they actually birthed out of planets like you wanted, everyone. And it does it well. It does it with skill, finesse, talent, and emotional complexity. The characters make sense why they conflict with each other. It makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Best movie, best interactions, best dialogue.
Best overall.
Best overall. The next movie, The Atom Project. It's a movie where I said that somebody should film a movie in the Redwoods. And I said some other things at the time, like, why do we have to have people die in ways that people claim are rated R as making fun of old movies? When the people die so horrifically from corrosive light beams as they disappear, well, they're screaming, but that's like a family film. So Ryan Reynolds really wins like Best Sick Fuck Award, him and his daughter, and that is his daughter. I saw you at a film awards holding your daughter while you were getting a star in 2016. What are you doing? Anyway, it wins Best Entertaining Digital Release. There was a problem that the woman in it, whether she was casted or not, tried to make a drama whore out of herself. She's fighting one man who's also the other major character, he's like the guy who obeys the major villain in the film. And she shoots at him and does all this stuff while his vehicle's just flipped over and she's just standing there and she's just shooting and crying. And all of that needs to be cut. I cut it multiple times, but it removed the audio as if magically the audio is taken with her to the grave. I don't like her performance. I think that vast sections of it should be removed, including at the cabin scene. But I think it was still best overall picture, even though they needed edits throughout the movie that I already provided and I'm sure everybody's seen. It may not be out yet.
Well, yeah, what it wins is there.
Most entertaining digital release.
Yeah.
Like I was saying. I meant it's best overall for a digital release.
Yeah. And that's sad that the market's that bad still.
Yeah, we need a better market with more action. I don't appreciate that his daughter stood there, like he even said in the scene, observing people doing stunts around her, so that was just left in. But I do appreciate the effort she put on in the end on wire work. And I thought that, ironically, Mark Ruffalo, who's a character in this film, somehow managed to save it, but he spent too long doing so. It's still a good film, though, for that aspect.
Yeah, but to other people, his slow, hulking, methodical speech, because he's the Hulk again.
Yep, he's playing the Hulk.
Yeah, fits right in.
Why isn't it in the Marvel Universe? That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah. Best digital release of a Marvel Universe film that didn't know it was Marvel.
Well, this is a lineup of movies chronologically for the fourth wave of Marvel movies that have come out since Corona. We're going through them all since at their release date. That's the list we're going through.
Exactly. So, all right. Here's the most major project. I just like to bring this up so every other movie cannot do this. Like Super Pets, we don't have spaces where people talk. They don't say anything. They don't growl. It's happening so fast. 2 trains, 2 jets, 2 cars, something flying at each other, something about to impact. There's not all this cutting. So there's a perfect way where I think they actually extenuated the digital, where they keep cutting as they're like further away and then a little closer, shooting at each other in the air. So I just cut it down to them hitting, I even talked through this. This is why this is so important. This movie was made, The Atom Project, so it's like they're attacking what I said directly, to have a very specific, like you have only a certain number of scenes, and each time it jumps up massively, the charge on the jet, then you jump through a portal. Yeah. It's like the point I always make, because this is in so many movies, you space jump, you jump through a time portal. You can't have anything in between. It has to be thought out. They shoot at you, you're closer, and it should be a little, I always say this when the editing happens. I know I'm taking up too much time, but this is sort of a film awards. So, go lean on the side of more time having passed through each cut. Like you have no time, because nobody likes that in a movie when, you reduce the risk in an intense situation, rather than make it slower. They should never go anything slowly upward. Just make the suspense at some other point before or after that then. Don't actually have the lever control the entire suspense scenario of how much it charges or the button or something.
Yeah.
That's just gimmicks. Don't extenuate the scene. People like it that way. With that, we're on to the next movie. Best horror/thriller. We didn't really make any horror/thriller. Megan is horror comedy, so it doesn't count. There's not enough movies this year. Maybe next year we'll have more. So, I came up with the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness plot based off of Spider-Man, him destroying the entire universe in it with his retarded decisions. Same as Tom Holland in real life, in my opinion. So, the universe is broken apart, but what does that deal with? How broken is it? Wanda's hopping between dimensions with some version of her. Everything's out of control.
Yeah.
You find the most evil in certain people's hearts. You find a council of people that have gone insane that are regular superheroes in the film. Like they're all just evil, is the point.
Yeah, and this movie was partially developed all the way back, like let's say 3/4 of it was developed back in 2017.
Yes, most of it was developed in 2017, including, like I said, because it's the Wiccan belief, you write your words, you choose to put energy into the book of life, and like every movie and everything always says, when you collect the thing, whether it's a book or anything else, and this is no exception to Wiccan stories, the book doesn't provide you anything, it's the energy through the book. It stops fading, it went into Doctor Strange, he got what he needed to use the Book of the Dead, with the energy of the book of life. It's subtle, but it's there. It's implied. I just wanted to bring this up because not many people know much about Wiccan beliefs. So it is a Wiccan movie, so in my opinion it also wins best movie to actually be themed correctly towards Wiccanness and, magic in general.
Yeah, best appropriate theming for a specific, creed of people.
Right, exactly. It shows you everything they are and everything they aren't.
Yeah.
That they're supposed to, Wiccan would take care of her children, she'd spend her time living her life, she'd do things, and that's why she's gone completely insane, because she's not doing any of those things. Excuse me, I need more water. All right.
It introduces America Chavez.
It also introduces America Chavez, which my brother has already said, if you would like to speak on it, is a mixture of, what two characters again?
Alright, so this was all developed back in 2017 when we realized everybody was going to start using our scripts. Because we talked our whole lives waiting, saying, someone's got to notice, someone's got to notice. So there are teams of people now online who are writing out our scripts. That's great. So when it comes to this movie, back at that point, I was like, we have this issue with cultural misappropriation of a different sort, where instead of people saying they are the culture of somebody else, instead they're living in a location where a culture previously lived and sort of living the life they did and not doing it in other ways. So my concept with America Chavez was, how do I plug together cultures that have never gotten along from the Americas, from the European area, let's say, anywhere really. I really thought, because personally growing up, there was a much larger problem in LA, in New York even, in Canada, in our area here in Idaho, of no one getting along culturally with the actual historic residents. And so I was like, okay, the African issue is much smaller. So I was also extremely thinking, I was ranting because, we need relationships to happen in this world. We need the concept of sexuality to become relaxed, because in my own dating in life, it was like everybody's too uptight in different directions. They're like wearing their issues on their sleeve, and they don't quite know, and then it's like rhetoric, and they don't know if they want to be plugged into that rhetoric or not, and the people around them. So all of it came together because I was feeling horny, and I said, holy cow, you have this one extreme. I was just thinking about extremes of Dora the Explorer. So young, for such kids, there's an innocence there. You have the other extreme, all for kids still, where Dora the Explorer is for 5-year-olds. Then you crank it up a little to where you're still a kid, say 10 or 11, and you're really into Carmen Sandiego type stuff, where you're exploring the world and you're more sophisticated and you're starting to revere adult behaviors and wonder what sexuality would be as an adult. So I said, we're marrying this together. Back then with Nintendo, immediately I was like all full on, full stars.
Yeah.
She's got full stars. And she's the ticket to combining different aspects of the Marvelverse together in humongous ways, and getting sexuality and all of those issues around it into the marketplace for a general audience without it offending anyone overly much in any specific cliche ways. Which everybody, when it comes to different topics like sexuality, they jump into cliches because they aren't even allow themselves to discuss it with themselves in their own brain. So she's a very sexual character. Most of that aspect has been removed from the movie. It's been rearranged so many times over the years. So just to hodgepodge her into it with the whole dream at the beginning and everything, it's just to get her into the series, really. And so she in no way takes over the movie. I mean, Doctor Strange is the star of the show because not much footage is being shown of her yet, still, because of racial and sexual issues. And so it's like I'm trying to drill bit into society in general the ideas of just accepting existing.
Yeah, and the concept that everybody's so jealous of, like tons of people have said, Mexican-style love, Mexican sex.
Yeah, hotter than
like
Mexican love?
That they're going to steal the sexuality right from their loins,
Yeah.
which is actually, to be clear, why I agreed with this plot, and I said it was, so negative that it would make people understand that there's this dichotomy in their brain that breaks them. And this is what's removed, which is why it's important to the pornography, to the movie, that she's trying to steal her sexuality through negative sexuality on a blimp so that she can get what she wants out of life.
Yeah, with charged stone that's false, with ashes, with whatever, so she can do dark magic. And all of these porn scripts, this was my primary porn script I had planned. I wrote this all out when I was younger, through growing up. I am a porn person. I write porn stories and I push them to be movies. And so this was my big, on a plinth, tentacle monster, type rape scene. That's just comical and fun. No one can take it serious. And so of course I knew it was going to be cut out. I was fully aware because we came up with the plot so long ago that I knew that it would come out as if it's a statement from everyone else, there's no porn in this. So the plot is kind of floundering at the end because they cut all of the tentacle rape and her being naked and all of that completely. And the way they did it was by, as I knew they would, introducing someone else in the 3D digital data in front of the actress.
Yeah.
So
her face and head rides the body the entire movie.
So it's just funny because then we're putting, you know, a relative of hers, the actual actress in the Amanda Chavez
Yes,
role,
I thought that was
into
ironic.
Barbie as a doll.
Exactly.
And it's just, we're going to really get this intermingled, so they have to admit, I'm trying to do this with all kinds of movies, but especially her, for the sexuality purpose of honesty. Everyone's going to admit they covered up who she was, the original actress, so that they could cover up the sexuality. So that the real actress couldn't be interviewed and say, well, I'm going to be going into an entire Nintendo-themed porn movie next, which is up next on the roster.
It's absurd. I don't understand why anybody would think that this is a good idea when there's so many steps I have to make. I have to introduce Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
I have to introduce a bunch of characters. And it's only going to get more complex and sexual in certain ways.
Yeah.
That's relevant to human life because human life is sexual.
Yeah.
The end.
And the Marvel waves, it's so intricate. All these movies we're mentioning, we're just mentioning them on the order they came out in the last few years. The actual placement of them in the Marvel timeline of when Thanos snaps his fingers and people turn to dust and all of that, a lot of this is taking place still what they call Phase 3. Before Thanos is defeated, that version of Thanos at the end battle that's too much like Lord of the Rings because I didn't direct it. So we get all the way around basically to the fact that only a few movies that haven't come out yet are even getting into Phase 4 and 5. We're trying to fill in the phase area of Marvel where everything was negative and they tried to run it into the ground in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's the same spirit as Tom Holland, saying
Yeah.
that, he's going to have a hard cutoff, literally saying it in interviews, everybody around him. And, he kind of needs Spider-Man to be, pushed into the grave as a project.
So instead, because that's angering, is that we respond with, not that he's being rewarded, because remember the individual, he had then had to admit, he's just stuck in 20 years of Spider-Man. Because he's going to be in good shape. It's about the drivenness of the individual to fulfill the role, not their personal issues.
Yeah, I know.
Unless they get involved in the movies.
I guess I should bring this up because it's very important. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness doesn't win this award, but I have to bring it up because any movie wins an award for even doing it. It's an award for outstanding achievement in entertainment, like going the full miles. I'd say it's called using everything, all the tools at your exposure. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the reason why it was designed for this tentacle porn as well is because the 40x seats that you currently experience with various impact points along your body where you may be hit, like as if you were punched from behind or something, or think buffeted by an explosion as an actor jumps away from something, all the things I came up with. It has a slight vibration, unlike a D-Box, which I've been told about is terrible.
We've sat in it.
And it'll throw you out, it'll beat you up, it'll knock you around. And so 40x, what it does is it gently vibrates with a peak point, like sort of round, just up into between your butt cheeks, so you get the seat of your pants vibration, explosion, creature walking. But for this movie and for pornography for movies.
For this movie's pornography that
for this, which is what we designed it for.
Yeah.
It's like as if, in frequencies you're gently being, massaged in your butthole, basically, by her being railed in the butthole by a tentacle.
Yeah, duh.
And, they have all these things like, when air whooshes this way or this way in between under your armpits and stuff, it'll go past your head, which is what I designed, which is why I'm saying both these movies, why Eternals is so important as a movie. It used the screen, it would have won, but I didn't get to see it in Screen X. It does technically win, this is why Doctor Strange doesn't. Because it was designed, but the way I watched it didn't have it with the two side projected screens.
Yeah.
There were creatures attacking from the sides where they couldn't see them and they'd slam in and it was obvious. And the seats were excellent and well engineered for it. There was unique smells that weren't stinky for Eternals. Whereas Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had the spray and scents replaced. Kind of like, I would just say it's representative of the actors.
Yeah.
They have stinky alkaloids in them from colognes they've used in the past rather than natural ones.
And so then, I don't know what to say. The actors' diets somehow were represented in the smells presented?
Yeah, that's why I said because I'm suspicious that everything's broken apart like the Multiverse of Madness, which is why I made it. We needed America Chavez because we needed a woman who ate a girl who ate a bunch of berries, who hadn't been full of sodium yet, so it doesn't just smell like onions, everything from her hormones. And so there's this excellent scene where she's eating pie and you get to smell it. Yeah. There's scenes where there's infinite flowers because she used flowers and herbal teas, which is why it's a Wiccan movie. In my ideal version of New York, covered in things. Yeah. There's all these smells. There's the smell of mustard when a hot dog is covered, and that's just amazing.
Well, when it comes to, we proved because we knew the whole time that when it comes to the Wiccan thing, it's so attached to the West Coast that everybody who lives along the West Coast, from, down LA all the way up to wherever, Washington area, up above into Canada, it's just all Wiccan heavy original settlers. So they intermixed with the people that were actually locals who were also Wiccan in that area heavily. So this is a West Coast issue. We're close to the West Coast. We're on the West Coast, basically. Our valley's set up.
Yeah.
And we have people, whether it be Mormons in this case, or anybody else, who think they get to own an entire area of the world, and they get violent, and there was violence at this movie at the premiere for us when we watched it, and the smells had been replaced, I assume, by them.
Yeah, because they're packs that are loaded in.
Because we saw who was working there, and they didn't work there before they came in and decided to work there.
Yeah.
And they were Mormon bishops and stuff. So then we were confronted because we said, we can't even watch this movie. It's going to be so smelly because of the people here. So we had our own natural organic orange cleaner.
Which should be the smell of orange acid for the movie that I designed it for.
And it's not in orange portals. So we provided for the crowd that was watching spritzes with all the wind going through as we sat in the right spot. The orange smell for the portals opening constantly.
Yes.
And that made it so that the stinky chemicals they were using in the boxes of smells didn't affect anyone.
Yeah, it didn't make them die.
We neutralized the poison.
They would have killed people in the theater, not us, we're healthy, but there was very overweight people there with heart issues. They're murderers. They're guilty, and the company and the theater isn't taking responsibility for their actions.
Yeah, it's all up in the air. It's always new workers. The whole area we live in is always new workers, the area for years. But besides for all of that, I just had to bring it up that this movie is such a good horror thriller. It actually disturbed everyone's jimmies and rustled them all across the West Coast. Boy! And that's why I designed it to do, because Mexicans have been trying to move up to Canada back and forth freely. They don't even want to live in the U.S., a lot of them. And they've been harassed at the borders because they're Mexican. That's that,
My point in closing is this. Eternals used alkaloids and things from plants and things like there's anything. Chocolate can be an alkaloid. You can make alkaloids out of any herbal scent. Highly dilute it and spray it.
Yeah.
They just had cologne that was just poured into the actual box. It was modified.
Yes.
This is illegal, and anyone would shut down your theater for this behavior. This is a warning for next 40X films and ScreenX films with projections on the sidewalls you can
That's
look
a good point, because we might not have the ability... We already don't have the ability to rate movies that are in IMAX, because the projectors here... There's been no experts around to come in and actually arrange the projectors, the four of them, to line up correctly.
They're off. They're blurry.
They're off. They're blurry. It's not a good presentation. So we literally are at the edge of having the 40X go the way of the ScreenX dodo for us now these last few years, where they still don't function, and it's in a theater that's not upkept.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking there's plans next year, based on what we've seen, that there'll be another theater or two that gets premiere formats.
Yeah.
So we it's being pushed, I know, so that we can watch and actually rate the movies,
Because as it currently is, there's this issue where they're not taking responsibility, and they'll just spray more stinky cologne, and they'll act like nothing happened while they're hyper guilty and pretend as if their employees aren't aggressive when you say that they're trying to poison the audience.
But yeah, so I guess we have to cover the rest of that story. They bring in a woman who acts like she's interacting with Grant when I get up to use the bathroom, because Mormons act like they don't like me because of my name and their stupid religious beliefs or something. So she comes in to talk at Grant when I go up to use the bathroom to start talking trouble towards the end of the movie, like as though she isn't connected to anything and is trying to ascertain what we're spraying to defeat their, evil liquid. So then she just goes full on nuts when I come back from the bathroom and we're watching the end of the movie and get up to leave fully. And she confronts us and says that now, after she's investigated, she now works at the theater
while wearing none of the clothing, which is illegal. That's against theater policy.
Yeah,
You're not
no
allowed.
Identification. Claims she owns the smells, basically.
You see what I mean? As she's the illegal modifier.
Yeah.
And these theaters do not want to take responsibility. They just want to say, it didn't happen.
So, what I'm saying is I'm purposely goading people so that their imaginations get into their centers of their brain where they go nuts in a certain way. Because at the Spider-Man movie, we had nuts people sit next to us who they didn't buy tickets. Unacceptable. So something magical happened there with them. And I tried to return his scarf, and I threw it at him with magnetism to have it come down and spin in the air and loop around, as is a old cowboy trick with rope. You can do this with different material. And so it came in where he was turning to leave across the long length of the theater, down the corridor, turn that little corner. And it went up over the edge of that railing that's kind of there, and into the corridor area, and went to drop onto him. He was, again, another jihadist-looking terrorist who had no ticket. And it just went whoop back away from where he was walking, where he was going to settle on his neck, back onto the railing, pulled back around the wall, went whoop back and wrapped itself around the railing.
Around the railing.
And I had no intention of casting energy that it would alternatively wrap around the railing if it didn't find a target substantial enough. It's like Mormons think they're fucking sorcerers.
My only point is this. It is completely unacceptable to not be wearing anything. All the different things combined means that you're just being criminals and trying to...
So jumping back to this
next
domestic
movie,
terrorism. She behaved like she was the scarf from the previous movie we had watched in 40X. She acted like a mirage, and it highly
assaulted us illegally in front of everyone.
Attacked us, tried to beat on us. Of course, that makes no sense.
So we broke every bone in her body as we dragged her out, as she clung onto us like a pathetic whiner.
Yeah, as we were okay, get away, as we scuffle, and try to break away from her, she's just clinging onto us.
So she got beaten into every surface because she kept clinging onto my literal coattails like a hanger-on. So we can say it's all metaphysical, and the Mormons summoned her out of their stinky cologne, like I assume, because she was partially there. And I don't know if it's on camera phone or not. Who cares? Yeah, there's a guy recording as I fell into the light. She was assaulting me and clinging onto my ankles as I pulled them away.
Yeah. And usually when something like that happens, we'll get somebody talking about it, but total
everybody
radio
just
silence.
zips their fucking lips because what they're doing is so illegal and such attempted poisoning. They just think they get to brush it under the rug, everybody, while they're promoting their lifestyle of unhealthy products that could poison you and have been proven to, everyone knows. To people that want to smell lemon zest and basil and different things that have been turned into sprays in a movie theater. It's illegal to do what they're doing.
Yeah, it's astonishing. It's funny, we went through Chen-Shing, Spider-Man, Eternals, which was our project fully, the Atom Project only partially, all the way down to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's how many movies were released with Corona, on everyone's backs all directions in time. Before we got to the movie, we planned on being stepping into Marvel and being the first movie released. It's fifth.
And so I'd just like to point this out, that the most important part that everybody needs to focus on here is that these are 40X films. These are films that are designed, Eternals is designed for Screen X, which means you get to see creatures come across the sides and look over as you say, wait, look out, the creature's going to attack you.
Mm-hmm.
These are big, big, big fucking films. So anyone that was alive would come to watch them in the seats. The seats aren't painful. They're pleasant. They massage you. They have like tactile places where tentacles can stab you. And they'll rotate any direction. So like we came up with for both Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Eternals, there's scenes where they're locked in combat and circling around each other with energy pulling around, where then they fling and break apart, and your seats rotate. Like how, and that's what I'm bringing up in Spider-Man, it rotates the camera slowly around the characters as they talk and discuss plot. They're fully implemented, and we talked through how they be implemented. Everybody's going to match those movies because they don't know how, is what I'm repeating, to make the movies the way we did. And I advise this is why I was saying everybody, you need the DJI Pocket 3 to film movies. I designed it, it's on my YouTube page, and here's why. The DJI Pocket 3 has FPV mode, and it has tick points tracked throughout all of it, same as the one I have in LiDAR. Meaning, 4 seats, you just moving it, it's already has the data of how the person moves. So you just program that from one, head right into the seats. So you just move authentically sliding across the water sideways, and the seats will lean with you as you lean around a corner in first person, or as something creepy happens, as the camera goes sideways like it's unsettling, or circles somebody, or does these things.
Yeah.
Use cameras that help you. Why you gotta engineer for it in fucking digital? Why you gotta put them on wires? Use the gimbal cams. They even have them for DSLRs and full-size RED cameras now from DJI with plugins.
Yeah.
I want more 40X. I don't want it to fail. And I have big movies that make it as big, because it has smell-o-vision too, as any movie that ever came out. Anyone would want to experience Doctor Strange and Eternals.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say? Or should we move on to the next movie?
I guess we can move on.
Okay. Next up is another movie we worked on in the Marvel Universe, Thor: Love and Thunder. It wins Best Action Comedy. It's funny in my opinion, it's my sense of humor, and it was tested by the children of the actors and they liked it. So, I'm sorry if our humor happens to match up and you don't like it. We've modified the next Love and Thunder to be more listening to your comments, like we actually do, test audiences, to make it less cheesy. She won't fly away anymore and do those things. But it had to be established, so because this is the first film, that dark world of Love and Thunder is much more serious, much darker, much more aggressive. But you have to go someplace with levity to go someplace darker. You can't just step right into the dark world of Love and Thunder. There's my comments about it. I guess all I would say about the movie itself during the design and creation of it is those goats that scream. I've been around screaming goats. They're really annoying. I've had goats. We thought it would be funny. Sorry if it's not so funny, but they're going to have to consistently exist in the next film a little bit. They maybe even are trained to not scream as much, I'll say that right now. But they're going to scream once or twice for comedic relief. And if you don't like that, you don't like Marvel movies. I'm sorry. That's all I got to say on this one. Best Action Comedy. Thor, amazing job. Once again, I'm sacrificing scenes that I always had imagined. This is when I was a child. This is near and dear to me, Thor. You better eventually get some money in my goddamn hand, because I wanted to kick tanks in cranberry, like, the same as the smell for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Like, they smell that way if it was in smell-o-vision when you kick them. Like, cranberry blasts out at you. Like, the various ways that I was going to kick the tanks, like, whoosh,
yeah.
And, then you're like, whoosh, and different ways you're going to kick tanks,
Yeah.
I can't do that now. I can't do the fake splits and have my legs CG edited with 2 creatures driving at me that are demon chickens like I came up with my friend Angelo when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Out of boredom. This is huge. You have to understand that when anybody else makes a dedication to themselves and breaks it, it's kind of breaking my soul. I already let Brad Pitt and his stuntman have Bullet Train.
Good thing we have something better so that doesn't spoil anything.
My point is just this. It hurts my soul to not be there, working every role. I would step into a cloner, be the light man, be the person working the camera, the editor, the actor, main character. I'd build the sets. I'd rule this world. And I plan on it. Okay, next up is Best Holiday Special on the same topic of Marvel movies, because these are all together. I came up with a holiday special, believe it or not. It's incredible, and I chalk it up to cactuses. Peyote is a great help to the brain flow. Where I made up an infinite number of puns because I came up with it. I remember saying it. That what if he sung a song about all the stupid things that space people would think Santa does based on the fact they're scrappers? So, if you don't like him, he'll put horrible things in your stockings instead of coal specifically. He'll do all these different things, and I even sung it a little bit at the time. And that's like a huge feature of the beginning of the movie. It's just a movie to get ready for the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie taking place on the same scrapper planet as that. I have a hard time remembering my next movie very well, but suffice to say we did make it, and I'll remember it a lot better when it comes out because I've worked on so many movies now. Basically, the part, like I said, this is a running theme, you'll notice this, is a rant where I said Kevin Bacon, his name is Bacon. Now, Wiccans don't eat pork either. It's against their beliefs. So, when you eat cloven-hooved pig, you turn into a pig. Whiny, gluttonous, slovenly, greedy, stupid, loud, and obnoxious. If his name is Bacon, I said, he's an asshole. I don't like his face. I don't like the way it looks like his nose was always, somehow magically pointed, even if he didn't get facial surgery, because ordinarily that bacon fat builds up on your nose, and that's why people get facial surgery.
Yeah.
He's just a scumbag. So I said, what if somebody attempted to kidnap Kevin Bacon? It was just a concept here because I was making fun of Antonio Banderas and, everybody's trying to kill me. He's such an egotist, unlike Antonio Banderas, I said, or even Jim Carrey, who would have like a fence or something. That you just have an open gate. You just be able to climb around, and comedically, I'd flip over the gate for no reason, so then they jump over it. And they're just kidnapping Kevin Bacon because he's got to, say he's a Star-Lord, he's from a movie, he's a fan of him. They just took it and did it, but I'm amused because what did I say? Kevin Bacon would summon polar ice, because it's the holidays, straight from his asshole, pull police, and be like, one of the last people, while they're not anywhere on the streets, while they're fucking banned, while they've been known to be scumbags, while they're mostly man-children. They just appear out of nowhere. I just said, just watch.
All directions.
Because Kevin Bacon, he doesn't need a fence that actually makes sense. It's just there to keep other people from driving in. He's a big old bitch. So I said all the terrible things I would do to them, including body slam them and smash their vehicles all over the place, then punch them in the Adam's apple, breaking their necks for daring to defend Kevin Bacon's virginity. So they put it in the movie, and I'm pleased. I'm happy, and I'm proud to say it's a great holiday special. Fuck Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
And that's the official opinion of the Mushroom Awards.
Yep.
What's up next on the agenda?
Yeah, going past Marvel now. That's that for that.
The Woman King. Most racist alterations. I knew this was going to happen. I said these people in Hollywood that claim that they're extra black while they're mostly India red-skinned or other colors of mixed race. Not saying they're not black, but they're from like the East Indies and then they come over here and learn an American accent, or they're just back east and already Native American red-skinned Indian a little. They just say, no, we're secretly saying that we love white people and wish we were always whiter and that the acceptance of white people is all we care about. So, The Woman King was supposed to be a movie about how it was the woman who would be queen, and it turned into The Woman King, as was the original title my brother had, as he would like to talk about a little bit maybe, or not.
I suppose.
I wasn't really involved with it. It was just supposed to be badass, sexy women, and it turned into the cast of Black Panther ruining our movie.
Yeah. Like, which I knew I was counting on them doing it because I'm trying to clean up Marvel because everybody acts like it's the most fundamental, like, series of movies that have continued in all time space since whatever point 2000. So I was like, okay, this Black Panther thing, there's this whole issue, I'm dealing with the Mexican issue, so they're already coming in with their negative, dark-skinned people issues. So it's like when it comes to this movie, my original concept was, okay, I know this will get everyone's goat, because there's this whole concept, everybody was looking for their queen, was actually what inspired me to make this movie, my queen, I'm looking for her. All that silly stuff. It inspired me to make this movie. I said, well, I know a little bit about the history. I worked with a guy in a terrible slave camp that was Walmart, a special Walmart made for large, muscular, racial people of certain designations all assembled at one Walmart to be slaves to British people, which is why I'm making Harry Potter the way I am, because fake British people act like they can enslave everyone worldwide still, as if it's just a theme. You see, it's not connected to anything. This racism is just a theme, a vehicle at the end of the day now, because everybody's so whatever these days. So the Woman King, I was like reversing that on the man queen. Because supposedly in Africa, in the western section and all over, it's all about women being rulers. Because they had this concept that household issues were connected to, the real living, not politics, but like the real aspect of how people live. And so a woman should rule somehow, for that reason. So I said, what if there was a man who was in that position for some tribal area, the man queen? And I knew the second I said that in my head and then out loud to Grant, oh, holy hell, they're going to switch this around because I'm trying to come straight at their racism with something alternative. So sure enough, inserts left and right, a floating face of the woman from stupid TV shows who's extra racist against black people even though she's extra black. Just there inserting their own propaganda over the incredibly hardworking, actress who actually got in shape, who's, more traditionally feels connected to Africa in a positive way. She just has her face all bloated from pork just floating loosely over the woman's head throughout the movie, making speeches, changing all the digital data.
You can see it from the trailer.
The trailer itself reveals it. So, success. I got everybody to admit there's a problem with racism in both directions, and this movie had great potential. I had all the script work, like, there's the sexy romance part of it, there's all these different things, and potentially, if the movie had actually come out in a finished way without being changed horrifically, it could have won, who knows, some different award in some category. But as it is, it's just the most racist alteration. That pretty much sums it up with that one. Oh, I guess going into the next one, because I put these in the order there that I distributed them. Boy, we're using a light here that's not good. It starts to hurt my eyes. But Death on the Nile, worst depiction of my script, of any script. Like, every time it's a movie set anywhere in Africa, which is a vast continent as large as the Americas, we really aren't even getting into anything to do with what I wanted the script to be. I was like, well, first off, you've got, Death on the Nile. Okay, I thought Zendaya because she's obsessed with Egyptian culture. So she would be like the pinpoint of the movie, like her research into Egyptian culture, her appearance in the movie, her historical connection to being on a barge around the, Egyptian pyramids, like as though she's kind of guiding the project because of her interest. Well, she ain't in the movie.
Instead, it's the oldest people they can find, and Gal Gadot is her role.
Yeah, Gal Gadot has stepped in and replaced Zendaya, which, mind blown. You see, I just make any movie about Africa, and we see all the racist people step out of in the plain sight. So there you go. I
With
guess
this
Gal
one,
Gadot's
they just
busted.
released their own film entirely,
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, they did. They released their own movie, like as though the script's being worked and developed, for the real movie. So they'll make a shitty version.
Oh, kind of like Glass Onion, which
Yes.
is a title in movie industries that it'll never work because the layers, like how glass layers don't work. It's like saying it's gonna fail. How do they call it Glass Onion? What the hell?
Yeah, the sequel to your movie there. Yeah, wow.
I don't know what's happening.
Catastrophic.
Why any of that looks like it's even happening.
In my opinion, it's because
It's supposed to be a movie set when I was
those
doing it.
movies have a true feel of. Okay, this is just so much racism here. In the eastern U.S., people who lived under the trees had lighter skin. So when it comes to this movie, Knives Out, it's actually culturally accurate
Yeah.
to Native Americans in the East Coast in that area. So again, it's like they came in, all the racists hidden around, even in Hollywood, so it's like Split. And they just said, we gotta make this Glass Onion movie, because the first movie felt too authentic. It was representing an area.
But I keep repeating this. It's called Glass Onion. That's a terminology from the past, from the 60s, from the 50s, where it's like it's a project that's automatically going to fail. It's going to blow up.
The glass
when it gets
ceiling, like everybody sees what you're doing.
Multiple layers of
layering it.
glass, and it's opaque, it's apparent, and it's going to break.
It's like the Twin Towers with glass, stacked up, basically.
Yeah.
So that's outrageous, and the real sequel to Knives Out is being worked on, and they just act like they sit around, maybe talk to someone else, and they get worked up, because that's what I wanted. I'm trying to draw it out, the sickness.
Yeah, so that people know who not to work with.
So
You
Death
just have
on
to
the
grow
Nile
up.
was basically just turned into Gal Gadot's fancier than this upstart who thinks she's going to do the next layer of porn down in Hollywood for the next younger people. Zendaya's somehow gotten that label in the replacement's head, even though Zendaya doesn't think she's that. So the whole movie's ruined. There's violence out the wazoo with some guy holding them all hostage unrealistically as the supposed detective.
Even though the detective, because Death on the Nile is a series that's been done before poorly, even based on the books, it's been done poorly in association with them in movies before. Well, now it's so poor that the peaceful detective, like we always know about detective films, is now a mass murderer, basically, who says he'll shoot everybody and they're all locked in and he'll rape them one by one.
So the plot has basically turned into he's got them psychologically held in a mind game where they all think someone's murdered someone when he did it, and now he's pretending to be a detective and he's going to murder them off one by one in the movie. It's like the most negative readaptation of my script ever.
That's what it appears to be.
Yeah. Because it's supposed to be all shots of like beautiful stars with special cameras in the middle of the desert where it's dark. Like
On the
beautiful
Nile.
on the Nile.
For real.
Yeah. With the pyramids coming into view. All of these beautiful shots and beautiful people supposed to be being luxurious.
Yes.
As a test for more Egyptian films in the future. And so, I guess we gotta wait a little longer because...
That's just their version.
Yeah, they block. We know they do this. It's like maybe Death on the Nile, there was a test version that we could see that wasn't finished. So they always block and make their alternate movie.
Yeah, so all I gotta say is, if you think Knives Out is real, why is it called Glass Onion? It's like they were tortured by the spirits from above into admitting that their movie's illegitimate because I have a reoccurring Captain America, a reoccurring Chris whatever the fuck, Evans, I don't know what his name is. They're all Chris's. And he was going to be in that one because it's the continuation of his plot.
The sequel literally makes him feel egotistical like the first one
Also,
did.
fuck you, pay me.
Yeah. So there's that whole little conundrum. I guess we can move on to the next movie.
Absolutely. Next is Best CGI because it was fantastic. It was beyond belief. The colors were saturated on any of the holograms that looked video game-like. All the effects were amazing. There was colors out the ass to all the flames and anything, any special effects for weapons and anything in the movie. Free Guy. Free Guy was a good movie. It was filmed in Vancouver. After I forced Ryan Reynolds, I said, you should fucking go there, basically, and then he went there and he wanted to make something out of it. It's still stealing from me, though, and in this case, he's actually watched me play
APB, proving that people are recording it with my friends. Well, what do you have to say for yourself, Ryan Reynolds? You're not paying me? When I said, man, in All Points Bulletin, the video game, I'm going to have a, I wanted, just because I hate people in the game, whenever they annoy me too much because I play over and over again, it's sort of like an RPG, an MMO RPG, but, so there's lots of just playing the game mindlessly, but it's an actual game where you get to shoot at each other. Criminals breaking into places and murdering everybody versus you trying to stop them and get weapons that they're trying to take, and, they drive them around and all this shit. That game was the basis for Free Guy, from Ryan Reynolds' perspective, obviously. He did this thing where he said, which is what I was saying to my friend Ryan Deering from California that I used to talk to. I'm assuming he says he's a woman now or something.
Yeah.
You should call me, baby. Anyways, fucking, I said I should drop all these ice cream cones and it would work in this way where, they keep stacking up rather than despawning, so that it would make the whole server crash as they dynamically stack up in a pile till the whole game is ruined, and they always wonder how I'm doing, and it's just for me to hide and crash the game every time there's too many people cheating and I don't like them. So, that's kind of personal. I mean, if you're going to get personal like that, maybe you should pay me personally. That's all.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, we're going to need actors to show up at our house someday when Corona coincides our existences and, hand us bills.
Yeah, hand me money. Put it in my hand. Okay, what's up next?
So you didn't do Amsterdam.
Ah, yes. Amsterdam. Best propaganda film. It was our propaganda, and all it is welcome to Amsterdam, a place where any and every herb is consumed and the concentrates of the herbs in a natural way. It's commonplace, and it exists around a world where a series of events are happening that has nothing to do with it, and yet everywhere you see people smoking weed or doing things in the movie. That's the point of the movie, in case you're wondering. It's just to say, wake the fuck up and simultaneously grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
The film. I don't really know what else to say about it. It wins Best Propaganda Film because propaganda isn't wrong necessarily.
Yeah. And just pointing out, Christian Bale came in because he's the least reluctant about propaganda. He acts like it's a state of life that everyone's achieving, so he's just hopping around and doesn't care on the propaganda stream, riding the waves.
Yeah.
So long as it's not personally something he doesn't like. So he's done a lot of weird projects.
And this provided him an opportunity to act certain ways he wanted to act again.
Yeah.
It didn't cost much money, regardless of what anybody says. They went to the old district of Amsterdam like I recommended. I mean, I even know I should be fucking paid because I'm making these movies not cost much.
Yeah.
They took a flight over there cheaply, filmed there, spent some time there in some, empty buildings, and made the movie. The only thing that cost anything was the outfits a little bit that were custom tailored to everybody. All those objects and things in the room are just period authentic because they're still there.
Yeah.
No way the movie couldn't have succeeded even if it bored a lot of audiences. And it had interesting things in it.
Yeah. We also put Tom Holland in Holland for humor.
Yes, we put Tom Holland in Holland, in the next Spider-Man film. If he'll fucking do it.
Well, it already has scenes from it, so he's doing it.
Already seen them. Alright, what's next? Moonfall. Halle Berry's short wins Best Short in Moonfall. I literally, and it's crazy, she got the same sort of remix of the song I was dancing to. I don't remember what it is again. On my YouTube channel, and I went to the theater. Excuse me. And as I was in the theater, I saw the skit and I was like, holy shit, this is what I just danced to before I went to watch this movie. Now that's impressive time-space manipulation. Halle Berry also wins most impressive time-space manipulation. I don't know how you did that, baby cakes. That's fucking impressive.
We also ate cookies from a grocery outlet that were from her.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Burnt.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really broke the existence meter.
That was strange. So the rest of the movie wasn't the movie, and everybody's acting like as if they can just ignore that fact, even though they're claiming that it's out even on Redbox.
Yeah.
So what I asked for, in case everybody's wondering, is a collection of moon-based skits of anything anybody ever thought about, because they all have their own independent anxieties about it. So hers was alien nanobots drilling down into the moon while they're in space that causes instability in the Earth or something in space, while dancing to the song I was dancing to, which is cool. It was entertaining, but I'd like to see the rest of everybody else's Moonfall skits.
Yeah, they replaced all their skits with their own horrible movie from some other earlier day.
Exactly.
There's like 5 skits missing from other actors.
Precisely. So, I guess that one's Best Short. Hal Berry, congratulations, you win Best Short. Eat some white chocolate, stop being so skinny, fuck you. Harry Potter, 20th anniversary. I just liked this so much that there aren't even words. I mean, I wish there were words, but I guess the word is fuck Robbie Coltrane for having the name of a black man and not liking black people.
Yeah, he's trying to replace all black people.
While being Hagrid.
And we knew he was going to do that. We saw the interviews with him in the first and second behind the scenes like DVD releases of Harry Potter. He just... Yeah, I guess I can walk into the limelight here.
Yeah, come on in, baby cakes.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know what to say about this. I'm just disgusted.
Well, I watched the whole time the evolution of that, cocksmoker, and along with the, replacement Dumbledore. Those two guys got together, and they acted like they were a special racist group of grumpy old men that controlled the destiny through England, which I knew was the whole point of this series the whole time, of creating it so that it would draw it out. So the Harry Potter 20th anniversary is not the 20th anniversary. There's like no footage left other than select people who are white being racist in select ways, while like imagine the feeling of like they're all like sipping expensive wine or something and just saying how much they're exclusive to the way they operate in their minds, and like,
I mean, they didn't let
genetics.
They only had the part where they were speaking formally of the main cast of Emma Watson.
That was like no one even seen.
The Ronald Weasley actors. Those 3 main characters, they have them in a seating away where they're talking to each other. They're supposed to be, like it was already said, dinner and dancing that you get to witness from them, and I'd love to see them, put a piece of food into their mouth and close their mouth and swallow it. I don't know, at least for a few scenes. And none of that's there.
Well, the real problem is that
not the actual actors dancing, none of that.
I was always recommending, because as I watched Harry Potter come into being in the 90s and all this stuff, it seemed like it was going to last so long, and the actor admitted when he was even in the first movie that eventually he was going to be coming back, because all the timeline of Harry Potter was laid out then, sort of. And now here I am writing the actual scripts. So no plans for 20th anniversary. I said, I know they're going to do it and it's going to be racist automatically, but please somehow stop it, everyone. We're going to do a 25th anniversary after we get our movies out for the kind of the wrap-up of the whole arc of the Hogwarts years into the history of the Wizarding World and how it wraps up, all wrapped together. All of that was supposed to come to conclusions. Then there'd be an awesome 25th anniversary that gets everyone back to the anniversary because they are scattered races of people of stereotypical ancestry and appearance to come together for Harry Potter, like as though my concept the whole time guiding this project was how do actual people that best represent the areas of the world they come from and how they're connected to real cultural living, which involves animals and their dependence on animals and the plants the animals eat. Bring that all together so that there's a project where you can represent. So Hogwarts was originally supposed to be such an ambitious project. It was supposed to be following the lives of every type of wizard from around the world, the cultures and the actual religions of them and how they would do magic. It was going to be extremely expensive.
There's people from India there. There's people from everywhere there, and so, the various people in the books.
So I have everyone working against me, Mormons, let's say. Back in the 90s, there's this horrible Mormon publication, and everybody else did this too. They said, Harry Potter's coming out. It's going to make you stop going to church, any church. All churches will shut down.
That doesn't make any sense.
Mission successful. Corona shut down the churches, even though they're now limping along again. But it's all because there's an inevitable showdown, and I'm saying Harry Potter is like the clincher for all of this racism in the world, and how nobody acts like we can have a successful future, and how they pretend there's wars going on everywhere. All of it's covered in Harry Potter. All of it's a shame that they got out of 20th anniversary and somehow convinced some of the actors to take part in it and just do some interviews. So it's not really that big a deal.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that they made it sound all sorts of different ways that it wasn't, including then they just have random people dancing in the event, which is just crazy.
Because I just had this concept from a little boy, like in the 90s even, like I really like Indian chicks back then, you know. So like the Indian twins that were supposed to date Ronald Weasley in the original plot of the books.
Yeah.
For getting into how British people are connected to Indians. It was supposed to be symbolic, and how they fucked over Africa, blah, 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 with India trading, all this stuff connected to animals. And so it just piqued everyone right into their maximum racism and theft of ivory and all of that. Was the point the whole time.
Of course.
Yeah. So there's zero of the actual racial interesting people being adults now. I'm willing to admit this. I always am pushing for more porn. Every movie is more porn. And so my concept was there'd be such hot, attractive kids around my age in Harry Potter when I was growing up that I could watch them go around and do wizarding stuff in their own homelands and go back to Hogwarts and masturbate as they're extremely attractive and doing different things. You know, I like sex. So then that's all been minimalized. They filmed a bunch of stuff. Hidden footage in the vaults, man. There's extensive footage of all these different people that belong at Hogwarts.
Yeah,
it's
all
incredible.
The characters being established. Yeah. The books are way more into it, and they do film what the books want. They kept admitting to it each time in the behind the scenes. Then do whatever they want as well. So there's book versions of each movie do exist.
We've reached in a crux of society falling apart with the fourth Harry Potter movie in 2004. There was so much content at that point that they kind of withheld from the other books barely a little bit, and there was so much resistance coming forward into that movie. They admitted they filmed an entire movie. Then I'm not kidding here. Here was the original story. They filmed the entire movie, then they didn't have an explanation. That footage was gone, they said. Nowhere to be seen. And they had to go back and remake the whole movie. And they admitted that before the movie was even getting started, that there was a worldwide, interest, that everybody signed a petition by 1 billion people that I helped spread around to make, like, the entire movie for the fourth movie be in, like, sections that would come out through the year. There'd be 3 sections of it, and it would actually get into the lives of the other characters more because they're getting a little older, and they've hit puberty, and their titties are getting firm.
Well, there's an entire book that they turned into just, like, supposedly making out. Yeah, I just have to point this out in case you're wondering. If any of you idiots that actually read the books, read them fully, you know that there's a book that's entirely love potions, people having sex with each other. So this is their writer intention the entire time. These people were hired under the auspice that when they were at that age in England, where they're already of age, they would make porn anyways, and that it was going to be drama, and that there is drama all over in this book like it's for teenagers only, as everybody acts like as if they're trying to subvert that the entire time.
Yeah. So what's astonishing is that we, have most racist documentaries, supposedly. It's just the most horrible documentaries, the war that wins in general. Like, it's the most horrific negativity, replacing what should be positivity, which documentaries, I'm sorry, you gotta ban those documentaries on the TV where they talk about mass murder in any way, extra slow, with slow moving pans of photos of nothing. It's just boner fantasy for mass murderers sitting on their couches too lazy to do it.
Yep.
So
they're playing
I
24/7.
smell that
They have to be turned
energy connected to the racism of, oh, those people aren't really human. They're connected to the animals over there. We can kill them off. So that's the point of Harry Potter. Boy, I talked a while, but boy, it's sure an important issue.
All right, we're reaching towards the end of the award show, and I thank you for watching the entire time. I appreciate your interest in my continued ability to at least release movies, even though I'm not getting paid anything, and it's super cold where I live, and my life sucks, and I don't get replacement clothes very often, etc., 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 for all time and eternity.
Yeah, I gotta go turn on the heat, in fact. I'll be right back. Just a second.
All right. So the next thing on the list is Gym Time with Zac Efron, his YouTube series. He's actually acknowledging, and this is very important, the responsibility that somebody has to be honest about their health, to not encourage other people to be like their fake standards and get themselves killed. And that's very, very, very honest, because Gym Time with Zac Efron is the most honest about health, least cowardly fitness reality television show that I've ever seen. So I guess this year, and for a while after, he's going to keep holding this title like a championship belt over his head.
Yeah.
Also, fuck Dude Perfect. Zac Efron, I want you to say in an interview, fuck Dude Perfect, even if you won't acknowledge that you're probably watching right fucking now.
Yeah.
After all, I made movies that you were in too.
Yeah. Dude Perfect is just all the attitude of youth pastors in the Western United States. It's
They're
just
cunts.
that. They're creeps.
So, what was I gonna say? I left the comment on his YouTube page too, and if he doesn't want to listen, then he's an idiot. Those vans he was driving around broke down just because the desert was hot and he was just next to a repair place because you stay on this stupid grid pattern. But that's stupid. You should have just had a leisure travel van or even a Earth Roamer, the ones with the sealed windows. It would actually serve you better.
Yeah.
It was just a dumb decision and it wasn't worth it. That has nothing to do with anything, though. Also, stop eating so much Mexican pink sodium that's like literally glowing. That's why you're dehydrated beyond belief. Gotta eat regular food with sea salt. Speaking of fitness, in a way, the next show is Limitless with Chris Hemsworth. The TV show?
Yeah.
Sort of?
Sort of.
Sort of. You know what I mean? And this wins most reality warping.
Yeah, I guess I have to talk about this.
You see, I can't really, speak too much about this, but I will say I'm glad that you got your blood flowing again and got it hot and cold like I wanted you to. I'm proud of you, son. Fuck you, pay me.
Well, here's what I said. When it came to the Dark World of Love and Thunder, and we worked out this script in 2017 as well, we didn't have the title yet or anything, was this concept that he's invaluable to the Marvel franchise, He can't be replaced even more than anybody else. So, lo and behold, what I was worried was going to happen did, which is he's so infected mentally that it's making him interact with unsavory people in his life. So when he goes to make this TV show that we asked for, where he's showing off that he's getting more physical and, making good life decisions, instead he has to make a bunch of terrible life decisions. So, there's an alternate, just in connection to this vaguely, alternate Zac Efron who made a different show where he went around and talked to life and death gurus just like Chris Hemsworth did. So, Chris Hemsworth lives there in Australia. He somehow managed to find, the most axe murdery type people. Because I said, when it came to the plot of Dark World, Love and Thunder, it's such an intense plot.
it's so anti established corporate religion in a certain way that there's kind of weight against it, coming out cleanly. So I wanted to address it cleanly with the actor because he has to be behind what the statement of the movie is. So he was just hemming and hawing, and I was like, okay, we got to get you on board with this whole wanting to live like a god, happy and healthy thing. So that the series does that. He confronts some of the most nightmarish people I've ever seen towards the end of the episodes, like as though it goes into surrealism. And the last episode of the show, as I warned him, gets so surreal that it's like people have come in as a cult and they stayed it and made their own version of the episode with their own statements, their own statement on Australia and all of everything, trying to prove my plot as justified, as like a statement of faith that they're pure evil. Like, it was so shocking, so revolting, the final episode, that it was like I was just sitting there in front of my screen, almost crying, like screaming at him how horrified I was by the scenario he found himself in. And I'm sure everybody else who's watched it felt the same way. It felt like your brain was like becoming a swirling vortex as continuously all the things that you never would want to hear keep coming out of people's mouths in opposition to Marvel movies. It was truly shocking and horrifying. I don't know.
And so, for cleaning himself up, for drinking higher grade, higher quality berry alcohols and schnapps and stuff that are in wood casks, he wins the award in my heart for most quality alcoholic.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention, the reason why it's reality warping is because he is warping reality through his physical fitness standards. That's what the universe really is. Your physical fitness standards change everything.
And I warned him.
Yeah.
I warned him getting on that building is much more difficult than walking a tightrope, climbing it in a still valley. That's what this was about. And it's not safe in a city. The wind is threatening. The existence there is threatening.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of cities on tall
They're
buildings.
built to kill the people that love the cities themselves that are from it. They fall to their deaths too. That's why he was on a fucking wire.
I mean, we don't need to get into how, the buildings are a certain height and then the wind builds up and whistles through them. It's stupid.
Everybody knows.
Yeah. Just like if you were really high up. Oh, but it's not like that. Because if you're in giant, like, redwood mushroom
That's what I was
trees,
saying.
the branches kill the wind and even it out.
If I was going to advise he do something, and it's not an entire TV show because I don't have more things, unless I come up with more, he should climb some giant-ass redwoods.
Yeah.
Drink a bunch of hydrogen water beforehand because you need water in your muscles or you're going to fall to your death even if you're hooking yourself in.
Yeah, that's true. That's pretty fun.
Yeah. And then he can camp out like they do.
Yeah.
Next to the redwood. In a little camp-out tent.
Yeah, that's what I got to do someday.
All right. Let's gather around. Bring it in. Best show because John Cena, my boy. Wipeout, best escapism TV. I laugh the entire time. I'm super invested. I want to see who wins. Best escapism TV.
Well, the reason I gotta say it's such good escapism is because it's doing this amazing thing where even when there's the worst hell sinners on the episode, no matter what's happening, it's always going along in the clip. There's positive comments from him and his, show host who's replacing some other woman, I think. But it has to keep moving along, and they're so making fun of even real societal issues as the people come on there and desperately try to push their horrible agenda or whatever it is, and then it just moves along, they get their asses bashed.
And they get made fun of.
Yeah. Everyone gets made fun of. It's just awesome.
It's great. It's an amazing TV show. The lines are hilarious. If John Cena comes up with some of them himself, I'm pretty proud.
Yeah, it's solid, It's like the entire Wipeout that came before it was just, icing on the cake of his accomplishment.
Yeah, and it makes sense because like he likes to smack down and like
Yeah.
people are smacking down.
Yep.
It's just the perfect combination. It's like chocolate and vanilla. It goes together.
Yeah.
It feels like a sensation in your mouth and on your penis.
And let's just say he inspired us so much that we do a little reality warping in this TV show at the competitors in our movie we're gonna release eventually.
Yeah.
Like we really show them a thing or two. It gets rather reality warping for degenerates. It's like when you achieve escapism for just a random person who's a nice guy, then it becomes reality warping for degenerates.
Exactly.
It's very interesting comparison there.
Well, I guess that's the whole show. Oh, I forgot to present the award.
Yeah. Let me
The audience members, could you present me with the award, please? All of my audience. You get to see my massive, huge audience that I have right now. You're gonna love it.
The numbers are so large in this audience, it's actually record breaking. Let me show you.
It's huge. You're not gonna believe your eyes.
Okay.
Damn. Thank you, audience. Okay, here I go to present the award. This is a mushroom that my sister Erica made when she was going to community college in Oregon. It's the award that I hope you'll all appreciate, and I think it's truly awe-inspiring. It's a redwood mushroom, and I think you're all going to like what you see when you look at it. This is the award that I have presented for you. You see, it's a little leaning redwood mushroom. Yeah. This is what Eternals wins. Eternals wins the redwood mushroom with the designs on it. See?
It sat in an apartment for decades.
Yeah, she left it there, and it was so full of ants, nobody ever wanted it till Paula gave it to us.
Yeah, here it is.
It's the award for achievement. See? I'll show you even closer the little runes on it if I can. Could you get me that light over there?
Well, we can also show it off in a separate video on a
Of
better
course.
camera later.
See those little decorations? Ah, that's perfect. That's beautiful. You see that? It's got little markings all along it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah.
So there's your mushroom award right there. You win the mushroom award,
Yeah.
and I thank you.
And so, of course, because it's about our convenience of doing this award as well, we ranted about whatever we wanted and just had a basic structure. So, I hope next year we can have so many positive movies that we can actually decide that we've, gone, past a point in society where positivity is being represented so continuously that we don't have to worry about the negativity. We can just brush it aside and only have a positive awards with, whatever silly, grandiose music and whatever we come up with real quick if we haven't been paid.
Also, in Loretta Stage 2, I would appreciate it if you, because I fucked it up, the award is laying sideways. You know what scene? Could you CG lift it up and set it upright, please?
Yeah.
I'd appreciate that.
Because it is our, major series.
Yes. I guess that's pretty much it.
Yeah, if we accidentally skipped some movies, something that maybe we had some impact on, maybe it didn't come out for us where we are here to even know about, or maybe we just didn't think about it and it went right by our radar.
Here's the one thing I have to say. You know who you are, the movie, because I don't want people to know anything about it, and you shouldn't go searching for it just because I say this, in which you misrepresent actors, agents.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Why are you shooting yourself in the foot when you need agents today, right now, as bad as you ever did, just because you don't have them anymore? What I'm saying about this is very important. Let me state what I've stated before so that everybody's aware. An agent is not your friend. An agent is and I want everybody to focus on this with me. It's very important. He is your life advice, or she is counselor, rather than your therapist.
Or manager.
Or manager. Life advice counselor. So they say, it's good for your career, but if you don't want to do it, that also makes sense. Not some sort of bullying. Fuck you, and you know who you are for saying anything
Which
else.
was why we literally went ahead and did an agent in Loretta Sage, where it's like, where it is dealing with an agent for a writer, I wanted to cross over and say, well, this is a movie, and in the series, you know, it's like she gets more notoriety with her series, and it becomes movies within the plot eventually. So, like, it's discussing that, like, agents and how they should behave, you know, and how loyal they should be, and how, like, in the case of her with authors, it may seem incredibly like she's, you know, harassing her at the beginning of the movie, but it's all, you have to realize, connected to this concept that the author chose over a long period of time to interact with their agent that way.
Exactly.
That's what they're comfortable and familiar with, and it's like their family, they're so close.
And that's the point. You can have people post for you, which was the joke of the film, for your fucking things online, and have it be obviously disconnected and just be promotion, but it's like, hey, it's me. Or you cannot do that and only post yourself and not have somebody do that for you at all. The choice is yours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I guess I'll just say that next year, my personal projects that I'm really looking forward to, I don't know when they'll come out, but I assume with Super Pets 2, and the other one of my favorites, you know, the development into Transformers. I'm starting to work on that project. They're really important to me because they're like films for children. You know, I'm trying to make stuff for Raffi, you know. He's the most incredible thing in my life that continues to drive me forward to improve the world so that I can feel like I can have something in my life without disturbances of everybody else in my life making it impossible, let's just say that. So I will continue to push, and me personally, I have the mental clarity to push out projects for children, which is another passion of mine, and you'll continue to see that there's a theme of children first, with adults learning to assist children in staying nimble mentally and physically into adulthood so that we can have, you know, improvements for everyone's lives into the future. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish with the movies. With me, it's just as important as the video games and the technology going into, you know, aspects of reality that we're trying to develop. So thank you guys so much. There's going to be a lot of different types of movies and maybe even a few new genres being made up coming out next year we've already developed. I hope if there's enough movies that we have like every week a movie coming out type feeling. That's how it was in 2010 briefly, just for like 6 months to a year because of all the backlog of movies. And we have another backlog of movies, so we might all be in for a treat depending upon how things can be scraped together in time and space for releases. But it's looking to be a phenomenal year next year, and this year really got things rolling again. We'll have to deal with Corona and its resurging multi-hydra heads, but I think we're on the right track, guys. I think that my life is getting better. People in my lives are getting less endangered, and there seems to be some sort of standard of living, you know, that we're actually promoting and successfully establishing. So, thank you all, and I hope next year we can do a great presentation.